Suspense. For the perfect prelude to gracious dining, for distinguished entertaining, for rare taste pleasure, serve a Cresta Blanca California Sherry. That's C-R-E-S-T-A B-L-A-N-C-A. Cresta Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Yes, the knowing tongue has discovered that the world produces no finer sherry than Cresta Blanca. And there's a Cresta Blanca sherry for every taste, for every occasion. Yes, it's smart before dinner to pour delightfully dry Cresta Blanca dry watch. And after dinner, to serve creamy rich Cresta Blanca triple cream. Shenley's Cresta Blanca Wine Company, Livermore, California.
And now, with Mr. Donald O'Connor as star, Shenley brings you radio's outstanding theater of thrills,
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines for your everyday enjoyment.
Tonight, Roma Wines of Fresno, California, bring you Donald O'Connor in Smiley, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Shenley by William Spear.
For 22 years, I was without trouble. I got along with people. They liked me. They called me Smiley. Because that's the way it was with me. My eyes, I mean. Laughing, the way I always was inside. And then I had this thing with the woman. And the laugh went out of my eyes and out of my insides. That's when I learned that thing or two, especially about women. That's when I learned that some women don't even have the right to live. It was on my day off and sort of late at night. And I was just walking along the street, not going anywhere in particular or even thinking anything much. Just sort of whistling to myself and walking along the street.
What do you want?
Well, me? Why, nothing. Nothing at all.
You've been following me.
Oh, no, I haven't been following you.
What are you looking at me that way for? What are you looking at me and smiling that way for?
I just smile at everybody, lady.
Go away. Don't come near me. Oh!
Shut up!
Oh!
Hey!
Oh!
Shut up! That was when the cop grabbed me and they threw me into jail just because she lied about me. She said I was bothering her. She said I hit her. She said I was staring at her. She said I was following her, probably going to rob her. And they all believed it, too. They didn't say so, but they were all thinking about those women that got killed lately. I know. So they believed the woman. And about my hands. They didn't believe that either. They thought it was funny about my hands. About hands nobody understands. Nobody.
The defendant will rise. Gerald Smythe, do you have anything to say before this court pronounces sentence?
Well, I'm a decent man, Judge. I got a job. I'm a decent working man. I didn't follow her. I didn't hit her. I didn't do anything she says.
The jury has disagreed with you, Mr. Smythe. You say you have a job?
Yes, sir.
What kind of a job?
I'm a dishwasher.
Dishwasher, huh? Let me see your hands.
Oh, sure. Oh, they're nice. I keep them that way.
Order, please, order. Yes, I see.
They're long and smooth and white. I keep them this way.
Mr. Smythe, you will find that lying does not help you in this court. Your hands may be, indeed, are everything you say. But they are certainly not the hands of a working man, least of all a dishwasher. I sentence you to 2 years and 6 months in the county prison.
I didn't blame the judge. I was there in the first place because of the woman. only because of her, and I worked out my time with my hands. My hands are still long, but they're not smooth. They're not white. They're not pretty anymore. It was November when I got out. Cold. Cold outside, and I was cold inside. I had no place to go except back to the Busy Bee Cafe in Curly. All the way back to town, I thought of Curly. His hands weren't like mine. They were short and stubby, but golly, they were good. The way he used them, I mean. Whatever he was doing, slapping pie dough or handling a side of beef or choking the life out of a chicken, he was purely good. I walked into the kitchen, and there he was working. He didn't see me because I was behind him, but after a while he must have felt me because he jumped like he was shot.
What do you want?
I want my job back.
What's your job? Smiley. Smiley, good Lord, man, I didn't know.
Curly, it's me. How about that job?
Hey, you remember you ran out on me once.
Yeah, I drew a blank.
Yeah, you sure drew a big one. Hey, you look different somehow. Wait a minute. Your face. Your eyes, they changed, Smiley. Well, what did you do? Quit laughing?
You might say that. You purely might. I changed. My hands, too. See? They're better, huh?
Yeah, they're not the same either.
Hey, remember how you used to ride me about that hot water? And how I even bought rubber gloves once? Well, look. Look, Curly. Hot water. Now, that's hot. Now, watch.
Hey, you fool, that's pure steam. Now, what are you trying to do, kill yourself?
I'm just proving I'll keep the water hot. I don't need to worry about my hands now.
Yeah, well, look, kid, you better have something to eat, huh? We'll talk about hot water later.
Say, Curly, where the... Well, laughing boy is there. Where you been, honey? Off on the bum? What's the matter with your happy friend, Curly? One of us hateful women take him over the high road? Why don't you say something, one of you?
Smiley don't feel good cooking. Now, you better get back in front. We might get a customer.
You don't want me around. That's all right with me.
Smiley, what's with you? You haven't changed that much, have you? You and Cookie used to be...
She reminds me of a dame.
Well, why not? She is a dame.
I've been in jail, Curly.
Oh?
A dame sent me there.
Yeah?
I don't like dames, Curly. I don't like dames. I tried to tell him about it, but I knew I couldn't make him understand. Still, I couldn't get it out of my mind. It was still there. While I was talking to him, while he was taking me up to his rooms to show me where I could stay, all the time it was there for good now. I knew that.
Well, here we are, fella. Home. And there's the extra bed I was telling you about. Yeah, be it ever so humble, this is it. Now, look, kid, you've had a rough ride, sure. Now, you stay here with me as long as you want. Get some rest, and we start fresh, huh? Hey, maybe you want to be a fry cook now.
Well, thanks. Hey, maybe if you could teach me to use your hands, the way you do, maybe I can learn to use them right.
Yeah, you betcha. Look, you forget what's happening, we get to work. Check? It's all over.
Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. Look here. Out there on the street.
Well, look, kid, this housing pitch is rough. If you're looking for scenery, you ain't gonna get it here.
What do you see out there?
A view that's worth just about 1/10 what I paid for it. It stinks.
I don't mean that. You see that dame?
Yeah?
You know something about her, Curly? She could get dead.
Huh?
There's maybe 1,000 windows around here, and a bullet from any one of them would get her dead. And it'd be pretty hard to find out who did it.
Yeah, now look, kid, you don't like women, and I don't blame you, but you can't go around putting slugs in people. Even dames. That'd pay off like keeping your water too cool did. Only you'd get more than any 2.5 years.
Yeah. But all I'd have to do is raise the window, aim, and a dead dame.
Hey, get away from that window. I don't know about you. I just don't know. What's the matter with you, Smiley?
I told you. I just don't like dames. Curly's face was as white as a clean apron. He was mad a little and scared, but I still couldn't explain to him what it took me 2.5 years to figure. That a man works hard. And when he works, he's got some pay coming. All the time I was in jail, I knew I wasn't about to get a nickel for all the work of digging and shoveling and laying concrete. And the one thing I was proud of was ruined. My hands. And I figured to collect some pay for that work if it was the last thing I ever did. And I figured it out good. Just what the pay ought to be. 1 woman. 1 dead dame. I couldn't explain it to Girlie. I guess I didn't have to. He thought I was nuts. Anyway, he drove me like a slave, but I didn't mind. I was learning.
Let's see now. 2 apple, 1 peach. Better make it 2. 2 coconut, 1 chocolate. Well, what we got, that ought to hold 'em. Hand me those peaches, Smiley.
Oh, sure, Curly. Here you are.
Yeah, thanks.
Boy, oh, boy. Gee, Curly, the way you handle things.
What do you mean?
Well, the way you pour fruit from that can, and the way you're putting the rim on that pie crust, and the way you knead the dough, and... Oh, you know how to use your hands.
Smiley, listen. Your hands are the most important things you got in the kitchen. You gotta learn to squeeze hard, and you gotta know just when to use the most delicate touch. Hands are important.
Oh, I wish I could use mine the way you use yours, Curly. You're good.
Yeah, well, it takes a long time, Smiley, but you'll learn. Your hands got strong when you were up to... Yeah, what I mean is you'll learn how to use them, kid.
Yeah. I get along all right, only...
Only what?
Cookie.
Oh, you letting that dame get you down? Oh, forget it.
I wish he was gone, Curly. I'm afraid.
Good morning, gentlemen. The world can now be fed. Lovely Cookie has arrived.
Yeah, fine. Well, you better get that front end lined up, chicken. It's time to open.
Sure. Oh, Smiley, honey. Smiley, say hello to the pretty lady.
Beat it.
Smiley. Okay, Cookie, take off.
Oh, Curly, Smiley didn't say good morning. My day will be ruined.
Oh, nuts.
Brother, ain't that a whip?
Hey, Cookie, why don't you leave the kid alone? He's had a tough time. He doesn't feel good.
Well, why doesn't he smile anymore? That's all. Just let him smile.
Well, the last time he smiled at the dame, he picked up a fistful of stretch at the county farm. Now, you remind him of her. He quit smiling.
Oh, was that so? Well, I'm used to being treated like a human, see? And just because a guy's nuts...
All right, Cookie, get to work.
Okay, but you just remember, one of these days we're going to have a showdown, and it'll be either him or me.
Take it easy.
You just remember, someday it'll be him or me.
I heard what Cookie said. I stood right outside the door and heard her. Someday it'll be him or me. There was a weight like a 2-story building in my stomach, and my hands were going open and shut, open and shut. And I knew she was right. Me or her.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Donald O'Connor in Smiley. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented by Roma. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines. From the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. Have you ever thought how easy it is to turn a casual call by friends or neighbors into a delightful party? Simply set out some fruit, cheese or nuts, and delicious Roma California wine. Yes, these are the inexpensive ingredients of real enjoyment. The simplest occasion takes on a festive note when you pour better tasting Roma wine. So enjoy golden Roma Muscatel or glowing Roma Port after dinner or whenever guests drop in. As you savor the mellow goodness of these delicious Roma wines, you will understand why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. So, for an everyday family treat or for smart hospitality, serve better tasting Roma wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines.
And now Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Vereen Tuttle as Cookie, Sidney Miller as Curly, and starring Donald O'Connor as Smiley, who continues a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
It added up. I was going to get my pay. But now it wasn't just some dame, some time. It was a particular dame. Cookie. And soon. When I went inside, my hands were still going like that, open and shut, open and shut. And all day I just watched Curly and the way he used his hands. His technique, as he called it. The way he squeezed when he had to. It was so important, the technique, I mean. You had to squeeze just right. Just right.
Hey, Smiley. What are you doing, kid?
Oh, I'm just squeezing mashed potatoes out of this bag.
Huh?
Making designs like you do on cakes.
Oh, that's great, great. Well, what kind of design do you call that?
Oh, it's just a hand, I guess.
Hand? Oh, brother, that hand couldn't do much. Look how fat you got it up at the thumb.
Oh, that, I guess I squeezed too hard.
Smiley, you'll be all right, kid. You stay with it.
Well, laughing boy's growing up. Is little Smiley going to be a pastry cook?
Lay off the kid, Cookie. Lay off, I told you.
I know, Curly, I know, and I told you. Let the boy take care of himself.
Yeah, Curly, take it easy. It's all right now.
Well, how do you like that?
It's all right.
Gee, are we going to be friends now, Smiley?
We can try. How do you like this design, Cookie?
That? Oh, well, it's okay. What is it?
It's a hand.
A hand?
Yeah, hand, he calls it.
Oh, sure. See, these are the fingers here.
They're awful long for fingers.
Oh, I don't know. See? Look at my hand. My fingers are long.
Yeah, they are.
It's just that you don't notice. People don't notice dishwashers' hands. That's why I'm going to be a fry cook and a pastry cook. Then they won't be cracked and dirty like they are now. They'll stay soft. And strong, too. Soon as I get to be a cook.
Sure they will, Smiley.
Well, now that you two are very lovey-dovey, how about breaking it up, huh? I want to get home.
You mean you really go home when you're through here?
Of course I go home. Where do you go?
Oh, lots of places. Tonight I got a date with Johnny Mack, the singing sensation out at the Natural Pass. I gotta go out there and meet him.
The Natural Pass?
Yeah. That's a joint at 711 Green Grove. 711 Natural Pass.
Yeah.
Get it?
yeah, get it.
What kind of guy is he? You gotta go to him.
Oh, he's working. He can't come in here.
He must have appeal.
You ain't kidding, brother.
How do you get out to this joint? You hitchhike?
You kidding? I take a bus to the end of the line, call a cab from the drugstore, and go on out.
Oh.
Class.
Hey, how about that, Smiley? Class yet?
I guess a crooner would rate it.
Yeah. Well, you better get that front end cleaned up, Cookie, if you're going to meet this Johnny Songbird.
I guess I better. Boy, on the day I quit slinging hash.
Have a good time, Cookie. Have a good time. It would all depend on why you quit slinging hash. Being glad about it, I mean. When an idea puts a saddle on your brain and starts riding it, it's purely funny how many other ideas it picks up. Like Cookie going to the Natural Pass. It just fit in with everything. I quick finished my work and told Curly I had something to do and took off like a kid on the last day of school. You know, sort of slow until I got outside. And then I wanted to whoop and jump up and down like I had springs instead of muscles. I couldn't do all that, but I could walk fast, and I did. I went up to the room and got my money and changed clothes. Then I went down and rented a car and drove out to the end of the bus line. I stopped and waited. I guess I waited an hour and a half watching all the buses, hoping that dame wouldn't cross me up. She didn't. Cookie!
Who is it?
It's me, Smiley.
Oh. What are you doing out here?
Oh, I just wanted to get out of town for a while, so I rented a car. When I got out here, I remembered what you said about coming out. I thought I'd just wait for you.
Oh, Smiley, honey, you got more stalls than Santa Anita. I'll bet you planned it, didn't you? You could be a sweet guy, you know that.
Come on, I'll take you to the club. How far is it?
About a mile and a half.
Let's go.
I guess you could be a sweet guy. I guess I added you up wrong.
It's possible.
You're a funny guy, Smiley.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't quite get you.
You're making cracks again.
No, I'm serious. Really, I am. You don't smile like you used to, and usually you seem to... Well, anyway, I didn't expect this from you.
I lost the smile, I guess. Maybe for good.
The way you're always talking about your hands.
What about my hands?
Well, you make like they're the most important things in the world.
And they're not, is that it?
Well, it's according to how you look at it, I guess. Now, look, Smiley, no passes.
No passes. I wanted to hear this. You said...
Why, I didn't say nothing, just about your hands.
I remember. You said they aren't important.
Well, not exactly. They're kind of nice. They're form good, if you know what I mean. But after all, they're just hands like anybody else's.
No. They're good hands, and since I came back, I've learned how to use them right.
Yeah, Smiley, yeah, but they're more important things than hands.
Yeah?
Yeah. Women, for instance.
Women.
Yeah.
That's a laugh. Cookie, do you know why my hands are rough and red now? Do you know why I don't smile? Women.
Ah, Smiley, I've been around. I know how you feel. Golly, if women aren't important, where are they?
Cookie, there's only one way to find out if hands are more important, or if a woman is.
Huh?
You have to make the test, Cookie. What's more important?
You said no passes, Smiley.
I'm not passing, Cookie. I'm not passing. I mean this.
Wait a minute, take it easy. Smiley! Oh, Smiley!
Women.
Oh.
Women. More important. I'll show you what's important. Women! Payday. For 2 years in jail. One dead dame. The whole world changed. For a minute, my hands were going open and shut like this. My technique was perfect. Absolutely perfect. They weren't satisfied, my hands, but they'd have to get used to it. All I wanted inside like was payday, and this was the day. I looked around to be sure no cars were coming. I took her out of the car and dragged her into the bushes where she wouldn't be found for a while. And I left her there. I felt good. Purely good. Like I'd worked very hard for something and finally got paid. All debts were paid. Everybody, including Smiley, was even with the world. It was wonderful. Just plain wonderful. The only thing was I couldn't tell Curly because even though he'd understood the technique part of it, the rest of it was something he wouldn't get. But could he have seen me use my hands, he'd have been proud. I know it. I took the car back to the U Drive, paid the man, collected my deposit, and went home. It was still early, and Curly was up.
Oh, hi. Where'd you go, kid?
Oh, just around. I got some fresh air. I didn't think you'd be up.
Oh, sure. It ain't late. Oh, maybe I'd better get to bed, though. Big day tomorrow.
Okay, I'll be with you in a minute.
Hey, you know, Smiley, I've been thinking that you should maybe move over to the stove, huh?
Oh, swell. I won't have to work in hot water anymore.
What's that? Oh, no. I'll get another pearl diver. You can come over with me. Hey, look at you.
What's the matter with me?
Well, nothing. I just noticed you're making with the eyes again, the way you used to. What happened, fella?
I don't know. I didn't think about it. Why?
Well, this is wonderful, yeah? I'll bet Cookie'll be surprised to see you.
Cookie?
Yeah, sure. One of her beefs is you don't smile. Dames don't like you to be grouchy. Wait till she sees you like this.
Yeah.
Who could that be this time of night?
How do I know?
Mr. Smith, look. Oh, you're here. Hello, Mr. Smith.
Smythe, not Smith.
I'm from the U Drive. When you brought the car back tonight, you left this pocketbook in it. Had 15 fish in it. Thought the lady might want it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Forget it. Come see us again.
Hey, what's this? A U Drive yet? A dame's purse. Hey, you were on the town, weren't you?
Yeah, I guess so. I'll give it back tomorrow.
Yeah. Who is she? Do I know it?
Just a dame.
Well, at least she could make you smile again. Come on, I'll turn out the light. Let's get some sleep. Yes, sir, Smiley. You're doing all right. You stick to your work and we'll make a real team. Remember the technique. Technique. Hey, Smiley, will you answer me something now?
Well, sure, Curly. What is it?
What happened to that crazy idea you had when you got out of the pokey? Remember you was telling me how you could put the blast on a dame and you... Hey, Smiley, look at me. Smiley, you didn't... Oh, that's crazy.
What, Curly?
I always said you had to be whacked up to get in the restaurant business. I'm just proving it. Boy, I thought for a minute you'd... Oh, I'm nuts. Oh, boy, this bed feels good. I really need to sleep. Imagine me thinking you'd be crazy enough to bump off a dame. Well, good night, Smiley.
Good night, Curly. Good night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, cut it out, Smiley. Take your hands off my face. What are you doing? Stop it. Hey, Smiley, what are you doing, Smiley?
I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I hadn't planned on it at all. I didn't want to hurt Curly. He was my friend. We were going to go places together, him and me. I was learning his techniques. And then I got scared and did that. All on account of a woman. Every bit of it. It was a woman who started it. If it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have had to show my hands to that judge. And he wouldn't have looked at them, and maybe he wouldn't have sent me up. My hands. Look at them. They're back in condition. I've had over 6 months to sit here and do nothing. Just watch Pop out there pace up and down. He's been keeping track of the days for me. He told me this morning, 2 more days, son. 2 more days. Just 2 more days. I wish it was longer. My hands are so pretty again. And now they're strong. And they got a lot of technique. If I was out there, no telling what I could do with hands like these.
Suspense. Smiley, starring Donald O'Connor and brought to you by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines. When the weather is so hot and humid that everybody feels like a rag, try this wonderful cooler offer on your thirsty family and friends. A tall, refreshing Roma wine and soda, made with better tasting Roma California wine. Simply half-filled glasses with robust Roma Burgundy, delicate Roma Sauterne, or any Roma wine of your choice. Add ice cubes. Fill up with sparkling water and sweeten to taste. In just seconds, you beat the heat with the coolest, tastiest summer drink that ever soothed a parched throat. Roma wine and soda is so cool to come home to. You'll want to enjoy this delicious refresher often. Remember, for cool enjoyment at its delicious best, serve Roma wine and soda, made with Roma, R-O-M-A, better tasting Roma wines.
Donald O'Connor may soon be seen in the Universal International production Something in the Wind. Tonight's suspense play was by Charles Glenn. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear John Lund as star of Suspense. Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. Tonight, transcribed, Autolite brings you Miss Joan Crawford in The 10 Years, a suspense play produced and directed by Anton M. Leader. And now, Autolite presents Joan Crawford in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Everyone is so good to me. I like being here. But some of the others don't, I guess. Do you hear? They scream sometimes like that in the night. Maybe they scream because they remember things. But I remember things, too. Especially when people come out from town to see me, to bring me things. But there's nothing that I want. They can't bring back my sister. My beautiful sister Adele. They came today, and with them they brought back memories of Adele. When we were children. The night that Mother died. The night we made the promise.
Don't cry anymore, Adele. I'm afraid, Clara. We're alone. We're not alone. But if something happened to you... Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm going to take care of you. But that's what Mother said. And now she's left us, too. But, Adele, Mother didn't know that she wouldn't have left us if she could have helped it. Promise me you won't die, Clara. And that whatever I do, you'll do. And that you'll never leave me. I promise. And we'll be together always and forever. Always and forever. I promise.
And for years I kept that promise. Adele and I were as close as anyone could be. We had few friends, but I didn't mind as long as she was happy. But sometimes I was frightened at the way she clung to me after we were grown. I was afraid of what would happen to her in case anything ever happened to me. And then something did happen. I met Douglas Foley. Adele liked him until she realized that I'd fallen in love with him. Then she hated him in a childish, vicious way. He tried to win her over, but it was no good. And then he asked me to marry him. And I said yes. That night, after he'd gone, Adele was waiting for me in my room. Adele?
Clara! Douglas told me.
Adele, you're so white. You're ill.
But you promised me.
But Adele, I'm not leaving you. You're going to live with us.
No, it won't be the same. You promised always and forever.
But we were children, Adele.
You promised we'd be together always and forever.
Adele, you see,
Clara, if you marry him, I'll never speak to you again.
But we were married. And we believed that Adele would forgive us in time. But she didn't. She refused to see us, and letters went unanswered. Then when we learned that my husband's new job was to take us to Europe, our first thought was of Adele. If she would only go with us. But when we drove to her house, she refused even to come to the door, and we were forced to sail without her. My son, Doug, was born in Europe, and I wrote Adele a long letter telling her about him. But the letter was returned unopened. When Doug was just 10, we returned to America. I went directly from the station to Adele's house. She was working in the garden when we drove up. I was shocked at her appearance. Her hair had turned almost white, and there was a strange look about her. I sent Doug to the gate to introduce himself. She looked at him in a puzzled manner. Then she saw us sitting in the car, and she turned and walked into the house. The next thing I remember was that day 1 month after my return home when I was put on trial for murder. For my husband's murder.
Mrs. Foley, will you tell us again what happened the night of your husband's murder?
My husband was working in the garden all day. When it began to grow dark, I called him in. But he insisted that he had something to finish. I called him several times after that, and then I became irritated and I gave up. I had my dinner alone and I went up to my bedroom.
Then you do admit that you quarreled with him the night of the murder?
We didn't quarrel. I was irritated, but I said nothing to my husband.
I see. Your husband's death was caused by a deep, narrow wound in the vicinity of the heart. It is the opinion of this court that the instrument used might have been an ice pick. Mrs. Foley, have you any other ideas as to what might have inflicted this wound?
No.
Had your husband any enemies, Mrs. Foley?
No. And so I was acquitted that day because of insufficient evidence. I thought Adele would come to see me during those awful days, but she didn't. I saw her in the courtroom, but she never looked my way. I believe it was about 2 months after the trial that my son and his friend Roy went on an all-day hiking trip to the beach. They were late getting back. It was almost dark when I saw Roy coming up the street. He was alone, and he was running.
Mrs. Foley! Mrs. Foley!
Roy, where's Doug?
He's down at the beach. With her.
With whom?
Your sister.
My sister? Oh, for heaven's sake, Roy, will you tell me what this is all about?
Well, you see, Mrs. Foley, Doug and I went down to the beach.
It seemed that Roy and Doug had forgotten to take along their drinking water, and they hadn't missed it until they'd come to a very deserted strip of the beach.
Come on, Doug. Maybe we can get some water at that little house over there.
Funny place for a house, isn't it?
Yeah. Come on.
Looks like nobody lives here.
All the better. And just drink out that faucet in the yard. We won't have to ask nobody. Come on.
Sure run down, ain't it? Maybe the faucet isn't working. The garden's all dead.
Sure it's working, see?
Someone's just plain lazy then. Or maybe no one lives here.
Well, sure they do. There's a mailbox. Hey, maybe there's a name on it. Look. Miss Adele Norris.
That's Mom's sister.
Yeah? Well, let's drop in and see her.
She wouldn't even know who I was.
You could tell her, couldn't you? Say, maybe she'd give us some cake or something.
No, she's mad at me and Mom. Come on, let's get out of here.
Say, Doc, look at all those dead leaves on the porch. Let's have a look around.
No, she might come out.
Oh, she can't hurt you, can she? Let's peek in the window.
No, Roy.
Look, Doug. The place is all upset. It's all dirty and everything. Let's look in the rest of the windows. There's no one around. Here's the kitchen. Hey, look at all the dirty dishes piled up.
Say, maybe my aunt's sick.
Look. Someone's coming to the window. Oh!
What do you want?
We wanted to see if you were all right.
Go away.
Don't you recognize me?
No.
Are you sick?
No.
I'm your nephew, Douglas Foley.
Go away, whoever you are.
I'd like to help you.
Go away, I said.
Mother wouldn't want me to leave you here like this.
Who is your mother?
I told you. Don't you remember? She's your sister.
I have no sister. My sister died when I was 18.
Roy, you go home and get my mother. My aunt's sick. I'll climb through this window, and I'll see if there's anything I can do.
You stay out of this house.
Doug, let's both go. She doesn't want you here.
She's sick. You go for my mother, and hurry.
If you come into this house, you'll be sorry. If you dared.
Did you say your name is Douglas Foley? Yes, that's right.
Douglas Foley is dead. Forever and ever.
No, don't you see? The one who died was not...
Douglas Foley became between two sisters. And then he died.
Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you. My mother and
But
you...
if he isn't dead, then I guess he'll have to die again. That's it. Yes. You'll have to die again. You'll have to die again. He'll have...
Look, you're sick. You need help.
I'm sick?
Yes. Don't you want me to come in?
Yes. Come in. Douglas Foley?
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Joan Crawford in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. And now, Autolite brings back to a Hollywood soundstage Miss Joan Crawford as Clara in The 10 Years by Mel Dinelli. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
You see how clearly I remember things? I remember so well the horror of that moment when Doug's little friend finished telling me how he had left Doug there alone with my sister Adele. And I even remember what Roy said at the end.
So I came back to tell you, Mrs. Foley, on account of Doug made me. Now I wish I hadn't left him there with her. I know she's your sister and all, but I saw her face when she came to the window. She looked awful, Mrs. Foley. She looked awful crazy.
I followed Roy's directions, and I went by foot north along the ocean. I must have walked a good mile before I came to the house. The front door was standing open. There was a lamp burning on the table. Adele. She lay on the bed. I couldn't see her very clearly by the candlelight, but I could see that she was fully dressed. Her hair was undone, and it spilled down over the pillow. For a moment, I thought she was dead.
What do you want?
Adele.
What do you want?
It's me, Clara. Where's Douglas?
He's dead.
Adele!
Your husband is dead,
I don't mean my husband. I mean my son. Where is he?
He was murdered with a long shot.
Be still! You don't know what you're saying. Where is my son?
I haven't seen him.
You have. He was here, I know that.
I haven't seen him.
Yes, you have. Try and remember. Where is he?
I don't know.
Yes, you do know. What have you done to him?
Was he your son?
Yes, Adele. Please.
I hated him.
I know. Where is he, Adele?
He went away.
Where? Where did he go?
He went to the village for a doctor.
Are you telling me the truth?
Yes.
How long ago did he leave?
I don't remember. Will you stop questioning me? Can't you see that I'm sick? I tell you he went for a doctor.
Why do you come here, Clara? After 10 years.
I've come to help you.
I don't need your help.
Adele, did Doug really go for the doctor?
You think I'm lying?
I don't know. But if he isn't back soon, I'm going for the police.
The police? Those fat fools.
I'm so sick, Clara.
Oh, I know. I'm going to take your things off, Adele. You'll be more comfortable. Then when the doctor comes, if he comes...
Don't you touch me!
You're sick, Adele. Let me take your things off.
No, no! Can't you leave me alone? Leave me alone! How do you know what's good for me after all these years? I'm in pain, Clara. I have a heavy pain here by my heart. When I'm tightly laced, I can almost bear it.
All right, darling. We'll leave it till the doctor comes.
Will the doctor help me, Clara?
Of course he will.
Douglas Foley came between two sisters.
Oh, Adele.
He worked in the garden. bending down low. I'm so tired, Clara.
I know. Try and rest, Adele. Close your eyes.
He was working in the garden, and I was on my way home. I saw him there, Clara. He looked the same after 10 years, because he had your strength to draw from. But I was alone. I had grown old, and he had stayed young.
And then she seemed to doze off. Her breathing was so labored. And I thought, perhaps she'll rest more easily if I undress her. And I went over to the bed. She was wearing a corset. I reached over and I began to unhook it. She started mumbling something in her sleep.
You broke your promise. Always and forever, you had said.
But she didn't wake up.
Always.
And I finally managed to take her corset off. But as I went to place it on a chair, I noticed something sticking out of the material. At first I thought it was a broken stay, but it was round, and one end was sharp. I looked closer. It was a steel knitting needle. A long steel one. And there was rust on it. Or was that brown stain rust? Adele had concealed a knitting needle, and there was proof of what I guess I'd always known, that Adele had murdered my husband. I dropped the needle to the floor. Then something caught my eye. There was a hand sticking out from beneath the bed. It was white and still. It was a child's hand. I fell to my knees. Oh, Doug! Doug! And just as I reached out for him, I felt a sharp blow on the back of my head. And I fell unconscious. I dreamed that Adele and I were children again, and that she was laughing, and we were playing an old game of ours where we tied each other up with our bathrobe cords, and then we waited for a knight in armor to rescue us. And then I think it was the odor of kerosene that brought me to. The room was filled with it. Oh, my head was pounding. I couldn't seem to focus my eyes. I tried to raise myself to my feet, but I couldn't seem to move my arms, my legs. Suddenly, I realized why. I was tied with a bathrobe cord. I was a child again. Adele and I were playing our games again. My husband and everything that had happened between Adele and me had been nothing but a bad dream. Oh, a feeling of relief swept over me. And suddenly, I heard footsteps. And the door creaked slowly open. And then I knew that what had happened had not been a dream. For Adele stood there in the doorway. Not Adele, the child who would rescue me, but Adele with gray hair, who hadn't spoken to me for all those years. She wore a long dressing gown. She was barefoot, her long hair streaming about her shoulders. And there was a vacant, stupid smile on her face. She carried a bucket in her hand, and the odor of kerosene filled the room. She didn't seem to notice me as she went past me. She threw the liquid from the bucket onto the bed. Adele! No, Adele! But she paid no attention to me as she left the room again. I struggled wildly, but it was no use. Oh, I was tied securely, and then I saw a still figure on the bed. It was Doug. Oh, his face was so white. He was unconscious, and there was a deep gash at the side of his head. And then Adele came back into the room. She had filled that bucket to the brim, and she walked toward the bed again.
Clara?
Adele, untie me.
Untie you? Why?
Adele, listen to me.
This is your son, Clara.
Yes, Adele, untie me.
We were looking for him, and he was here all the time.
Please, untie me, Adele.
I never knew your son. For years, I never knew him. How old is he, Clara?
He's only 10. He's just a boy. Adele, you're sick. Untie me and we'll go for a doctor.
You want me to be well, Clara?
Yes, untie me.
Are we friends again, Clara?
Yes, we're friends. I want to help you.
But I can't forget the 10 years, Clara. I must wash those years away before we can really be friends again.
Adele, forget those years. Let me help you. Untie me.
No. We can't forget them, Clara. We must wash them away. That's what I was doing. I was washing away the years. Your husband's gone. Your son is all that remains of him. Then we can be sisters again.
You don't know what you're doing. Untie me, Adele.
But this isn't water that I have in this box.
No, you see, you're sick.
It's what I put into the lamps to make them burn.
No!
Perhaps I could burn away the years.
Oh.
Yes, that would be better. Much better.
No, Adele, for the love of heaven, untie me.
I could burn away these years that remain on the bed.
No, Adele.
If I could do that with this candle, then you and I could really be friends again. Like when Mother was alive. We could be sisters again. Always and forever.
We're sisters now, Adele.
You're lying. We're not sisters.
Adele, listen to me. We're children. And you've tied me with this cord, and now you must untie me, like you used to do when you left me too long and I cried.
You're lying. We're not sisters, and we haven't been for years. And now I'm going to punish you for lying, just as Mother used to punish us when we were children.
Then she started walking unsteadily toward me, a lighted candle in one hand, the bucket in the other, the liquid slopping over her dressing gown as she walked.
Clara! Do you remember the time Mother washed out my mouth with soap when she caught me in a fib? That's what I'm going to do to you now. Or perhaps it would be better if I burned you. No! Scream, Clara. Awaken your precious son. We mustn't wake him.
Adele, untie me. I promise you that I'll take Doug and we'll go away. You'll never have to see us again.
No, Clara.
And she kept moving toward me, holding the lighted candle close to her breast.
You mustn't ever lie to me again, Clara.
Adele, you're ill. You don't know what you're doing.
Wash away the years. Burn away the years.
Oh, suddenly, I saw a tiny flicker of flame on her breast. The frilly dressing gown. She had held the candle too close. Her entire dressing gown was a mass of flames. It spread swiftly to her hair. In a moment, she was a blazing torch. And the odor of burning filled the room. I could see her face, surprised and contorted with pain. She turned and looked towards the bed a second, the bucket flaming in her hand. But then she went screaming out the door and towards the Mrs. Foley. Yes?
You mustn't scream like that.
I wasn't screaming. That was my sister, Adele.
Yes, I know. Try not to think about it, Mrs. Foley.
You knew my sister was burned to death, didn't you, Mrs. Willard? Oh, she was so very beautiful.
Yes, I know. Try and rest. Is there anything I can get you before I go to bed?
No, thank you.
Well, go to sleep then.
I will. Good night.
Good night, and pleasant dreams.
Was that my sister, Mrs. Willard?
No, Mrs. Foley. It's one of the others.
Oh, they scream because they remember things.
Yes, I suppose they do. Good night.
Good night. I remember things, too. I remember.
Promise me you'll never leave me, Clara, and that whatever I do, you'll do. I promise. Always and forever.
Always and forever. I promise.
thank you, Joan Crawford, for a magnificent performance. Now here again is Miss Crawford.
I want to thank Tony Leader and his wonderful cast of actors, especially Lorene Tuttle, who played my sister, for helping me to make my appearance on Suspense so very pleasant. Like all of you, I am a great Suspense fan, and I'm looking forward to hearing next week's story. It's another gripping study in
Suspense!
To tell you today. This one's about a murder in which the victim trapped the killer. Do you want to hear it?
Now starring Paul Frees as your teller of tales. Another story from The Black Book.
Yes. From the world's most fabulous collection of strange and unusual stories, The Black Book, I've selected a story by Dorothy Horton. She calls it My Favorite Corpse. Artie Paul said goodnight to Lil. Then he walked across town to his hotel. Lil's kiss was still heavy against his lips. Artie smiled as he remembered the pleasures of the evening. Now for tonight it was ended. But there'd be more evenings like this, many more. At the hotel he bought a pack of cigarettes, said goodnight to the desk clerk, and went up to his room. He let himself in, flicked on the lights, then placed a telephone call to Long Island. While he waited, he whistled softly through his teeth. There was just one obstacle in the way of complete happiness for Artie. Just one. A voice answered on the other end of the line.
Hello?
Jenny, this is Artie. I just finished that work for the office.
Oh, that's nice, dear.
I didn't realize how late it was until just now. I've decided not to drive home so late at night. I'll stay at the Tarleton.
Well, whatever you think, dear. If it doesn't seem wise to come home, then you'd better stay in town.
I think it's best, Jenny. I'm pretty tired. Call you in the morning from the office, okay?
All right, dear. Good night. And Arthur?
Yes?
Pleasant dreams, darling.
Good night, Jenny. Arthur put up the receiver on the hook and sat staring out of the hotel window. Somewhere out there beyond the lighted city was his wife, Jenny. His devoted, faithful, understanding wife, whom he was going to kill. Artie wasn't sure just when he first planned to kill his wife, but it was shortly after he met Lil Nelson. It had been one of those electric things. Artie and Lil had met a few times for cocktails after he left the office in the evening before going home. At first, it had been merely an exciting flirtation, but quickly, frighteningly, it had grown to be much more. Now he saw Lil every day. He knew he was in love with her. Then finally, one evening, he told Jenny about it.
But, Arthur, you're 15 years older than this girl.
Jenny, look, we've been all over this.
Arthur, it simply wouldn't work. Right now, she seems to mean a great deal to you. But it's just a crush. A passing fascination.
Jenny, I'm sorry. I love Lil. I want a divorce.
You're acting like a schoolboy, Arthur. I don't think we should talk about it anymore.
Jenny, can't you understand what I'm saying? I'm going to leave you.
Now, Arthur, we've been through this before. I won't let you make a fool of yourself over that blonde.
Jenny, you're making a mistake.
Arthur, you need me. This girl wouldn't be good for you. You don't really love her. It's just animal attraction. It'll pass. In a little while, we can look back on this and laugh. I'm right. You wait and see. Arthur, are you listening? I won't let you have a divorce, Arthur. That's final. I know what's best for both of us. Arthur, are you listening to me?
Artie was listening to all the things he knew Jenny would say, all the platitudes, the truisms, the trite sayings that Jenny understood so well. Oh, Jenny loved him all right, but with a cloying, maternal love, nothing like the consuming, flaming desire that was Lil's. If there was any particular moment that Jenny sealed her fate, it was then. Half an hour after she went to bed, Artie left his house and drove back toward the city. And Lil.
You're really going to do it, Artie?
Yes, I've got it all planned. There won't be any mistakes.
Pour me another drink, baby.
Sure. Funny, she never calls me baby. Always Arthur, like I was a little boy.
You're not a little boy to me. Not at all. Will it be dangerous?
No.
When, baby?
It'll take time. 2, maybe 3 months. But I've got it planned. Then you won't be stuck in this second-floor walk-up. You'll live where you want.
Near you's good enough for me.
We'll travel, have fun.
Florida, Bermuda.
You and me, Lil.
Soon?
Soon. 3 days after he made his decision, Artie bought a small .32 caliber gun. Then he began his period of stage setting. Lil was never mentioned in his home again. She stopped coming by the office to see him. There were no more cocktail rendezvous in the dark bar. And as time passed, people at the office forgot about her. The kidding died away. At bridge parties, his friends remarked on how nice it was to see a couple so much in love as Jenny and Arthur. They were getting along wonderfully. In the months that followed, Artie sat through countless dull plays and movies holding Jenny's hand. And all the while he ached to be with Lil. Artie wasn't certain that Jenny was fooled by all this sudden affection, but he knew their friends were. And then after what seemed eternity, the night came. And Artie was glad. It was to be a Wednesday night, the night that Jenny went to a reading club. She'd be home around 10 o'clock. Artie went to work setting up his alibi. He phoned Jenny, then let it be known around the office he'd have to work late, might even stay in town. He ate dinner, then with his briefcase under his arm, sat down in the lobby of the Tarleton, in full sight of the night clerk. It was 8:15. Artie acted his part to perfection. By 8:30, he was nodding. At 5 minutes of 9, he raised his head, blinked, and looked around. Getting up, he walked to the night clerk. That's one for the books. Fell asleep right there in the lobby. Look, I'm going up to my room. Nothing short of an atom bomb could get me out of bed tonight. And the night clerk laughed with him. Artie went up to his room, waited 15 minutes, turned out the lights, and quietly, carefully climbed out the window onto the fire escape. 3 minutes later, he was in his car. 40 minutes later, he was climbing in the library window of his own home. He looked at his watch. 10 o'clock. That was good. Jenny'd be home any minute. He moved quickly to the hallway by the front door and slid into the hall closet, pressing himself back into the darkness. Jenny was such a creature of habit, he knew exactly what she'd do. After she came in, she'd lock the front door, put the key on the hall table, take off her coat, and hang it in the closet. Artie stood in the darkness, his hand wet around the butt of the gun he held. The complete lack of any sound was terrifying. But any minute now, it would... The door. She was home. His ears strained, listening. The stale air of the closet made him dizzy. Then a sound he hadn't expected. What was the fool crying about? Now she was walking, just walking back and forth, and crying softly to herself. Then the crying stopped. She was right outside the closet now. He pressed farther back. Another door was opening, and a knife blade of light sliced into the closet. The coat slithered off a hanger onto the floor. Jenny bent down to pick it up, and her eyes found his shoes, his legs, traveled up to his face, and a rasping cry, her eyes wide. Artie lunged.
I've got to tell you something. I've got...
Artie dragged her into the smothering closeness of the hanging coats and pulled the trigger. As he drove back into the city, Artie knew he'd been very clever. It would look like suicide. He'd pressed Jenny's lifeless fingers around the butt of the gun. It was lying on the floor now, close to her body. It was all so simple. After he parked the car, Artie started for the hotel. But as he walked, a sudden desire made him hesitate. If only he could see Lil for a second, she'd want to know. A few minutes later, he was climbing the back stairs to Lil's apartment. He found the door unlocked and opened it. Lil? Lil, it's Artie. Where are you, honey? There was no answer. He stepped into the living room, and suddenly something burst inside his head. Lil was lying on the floor, doll-like, grotesque. The blue robe he'd given her was stained with blood. A gun lay beside her.
Artie, help me.
Lil, baby.
Oh, it hurts, Artie. Make it stop hurting.
Lil, what happened?
She shot me.
She? Who?
She came in, said she wanted to talk, but shot me.
Lil, I'll call a doctor.
Said she knew. For months she knew about me.
Baby, please don't try to talk.
When she shot me, your wife laughed. Artie. Oh, Artie.
Lil. Artie got to his feet. Lil was dead. He picked up the gun. It was his gun. His gun. The one he'd always had around the house. The one he had registered in his name. Now, too late, he remembered he hadn't seen it for several days. Of course. Jenny had taken it when she planned a murder of her own. Jenny had fooled both of them. And Artie stood there for a moment, looking down at Lil. Tears filled his eyes and spilled over. After a moment, he walked to the phone and slowly picked up the receiver. I want the police. Please, this is Arthur Powell. I want to report 2 murders. One at my home on Long Island,
and the other here at the river crest of Hartford.
The Black Book stars Paul Frees as your teller of tales, assisted today by the noted Hollywood actress Virginia Gregg. Dorothy Horton's suspense magazine story, My Favorite Corpse, was adapted and directed by Norman MacDonald. The special music is composed and conducted by Leith Stevens.
Next week, I'll have another story for you from The Black Book. It's most unusual, and it's called The Vagabond Murder.
Oysters are in season every month that has an R in it. And Jack Benny's gang are in season whenever Sunday night rolls around. Listen in whenever you are in the mood for fun. Clarence Cassell speaking. Remember, the comedy treat that can't be beat is Jack Benny Time, Sunday nights on the CBS Radio Network.
I have another story to tell you today. This one is about a crime in which a murderer is trapped by one of the most powerful forces of nature. Do you want to hear it?
Now starring Paul Frees as your teller of tales. Another story from The Black Book.
Yes. From the world's most fabulous collection of strange and unusual stories, The Black Book, I have selected a story called The Vagabond Murder. Eric Patterson was growing desperate. He'd been there for over 2 hours, waiting with less and less patience for the door in front of him to open. He listened intently for the warning sound of the key in the door. Eric needed to be warned because when the man he was waiting for entered the room, Eric was going to kill him. As the seconds ticked past in the darkness, Eric thought back to the beginning of all this. It was in New York. He had taken his wife, Karen, along on a business trip. It had been quite successful, and one of the best contacts he'd made was Henry Drucker. Drucker, the richest, most influential man in the whole investment business. And he seemed to like Eric from the start. And with Karen, they made a gay trio the last few days. Rounds of cocktail parties, the theater, endless nightclubs. And then on the last evening of all, Drucker had said,
"Look, Eric, why not join me on the Bermuda trip? The best thing in the world for you and Karen. My yacht sails tomorrow. What do you say?"
At first, Eric thought it was just talk, but he was wrong. And the next day, they sailed for Bermuda on Drucker's yacht, the Vagabond. It wasn't until the return trip that Eric began to suspect that it wasn't him Drucker was really interested in, but Karen. And then the night before they were to dock in New York, it happened. The three of them were sitting at the small bar after dinner when Karen got up, said she wanted some fresh air, and went out on deck. A few minutes later, Drucker excused himself.
"I think I'll go to my cabin, Eric. But I won't be long. Wait here for me, will you?"
"Well, yes, if you like."
"Good. Then we'll have a nightcap together."
And so Eric was left alone. As he sat there, disturbing images began to form in Eric's mind. Pictures of Drucker, handsome, virile, wealthy, and of Karen, young, beautiful, and oh so impressionable.
With a suddenness that overturned the bar stool, Eric was on his feet, and half running, he crossed the room and went down the corridor to Drucker's stateroom. Drucker, open the door. Drucker, do you hear me? Open this door, I'll break it down.
Just a minute, Eric. I'll be right there. Just take it easy.
I'll take it easy till I count to 5, then I'm coming in. 1, 2...
All right, Eric.
Where's my wife?
Well, you must be drunk, Eric. Karen isn't in here.
Was she in here, Drucker? Tell me the truth.
Don't be a fool, Eric. Of course she wasn't.
Then why was your door... I guess I have made a fool of myself. I'm sorry, Drucker.
Forget it. I'll tell you why I locked the door. You see, Eric, I'm diabetic and have to give myself an insulin shot about this time every night. Naturally, I don't talk about it, nor do I like anyone barging in while I'm at it.
Eric stood there feeling like a fool while Drucker washed the hypodermic needle and put it away in a box. Eric watched him place the box next to a packet of insulin capsules in the drawer of the night table by his bunk.
I can understand your jealousy, old man, with a wife as lovely as Karen. But I know women, Eric, and Karen is in love with you. She always will be.
Look, I'm terribly sorry about this, Drucker.
Oh, now, let's just forget all about it. Matter of fact, I've been wanting to talk to you about something I've already told Karen. And it should prove how I feel about you, Eric. Here, pour yourself a drink.
Thanks, I need it.
You know anything about uranium?
Oh, it's expensive.
Know anything about Peru?
What are you driving at?
Uranium in Peru, Eric. Big. Really big. And the payoff is so big that I was going to put in $750,000 on my own. But I'll let you have $250,000 of it if you want it.
That's a lot of money.
So is a return of 23%.
Yeah. But I haven't got that much. I'd have to borrow on everything.
180 days should see the first dividends.
You'll have a certified check within 2 weeks. Back in New York, Eric and Drucker spent hours poring over graphs, reports, charts, surveys to make certain their investment was sound, and they could find no flaw. But 6 months later, Eric learned that even the most gilt-edged promotion can fail. Uranium in Peru didn't make him a millionaire. It ruined him. It took his entire personal fortune, and because he'd borrowed so heavily, his business and his credit were ruined. Eric suddenly found himself without a single capital asset. In desperation, he went to see Drucker.
So that's the picture, Eric. There isn't a thing I can do.
Yes, of course. I understand your position.
All my cash assets went too, and everything else of mine's tied up. I just can't touch it for years.
Well, we took a chance, and we both lost. Thanks again, Drucker.
Eric, do you have any plans?
Well, I've had an offer from the coast. A small investment house in Oakland.
Well, I'm sure it'll work out fine. Tell me about Karen. How is she taking all this?
Karen? Oh, she's really great, Drucker. Now she decided to go back to modeling in New York for 6 months or so. Just while I'm getting started, you understand.
She's a fine girl, Eric. You're very lucky.
Yes, I know I am. Well, goodbye, and thanks again. Out in California, Eric thought often of Drucker. After all, it was part of the game. They'd missed this time, but maybe the next. More often, however, he thought about Karen in New York. He'd heard from her regularly at first, and then the letters stopped. For 6 weeks, he heard nothing. He phoned long distance again and again, but nothing was able to find her. And he was beginning to be beside himself with worry and fear. Then one night his phone rang. Yes, hello?
Mr. Patterson?
Yes?
This is Oliver Fay. I do a little gossip column here for the Herald. I hope you read me.
No, I don't.
Well, anyway, perhaps you'd like to make a statement.
Statement? What are you talking about?
Well, it's about the marriage of Karen, your perfectly lovely ex-wife, and Henry Drucker.
Where'd you hear this?
I never reveal my sources, Mr. Patterson, but they're driving Mr. Drucker's Nash Healy out from Reno tomorrow. They'll be married aboard the Vagabond. Oh, it'll be terribly romantic, sailing off to the 7 seas in search of happiness, nursing their newfound love under the Southern Cross.
At first, Eric thought it was all a lie, that perhaps he was the victim of a cruel prank. But he had to find out. And an hour later, he was standing on a fog-wet pier looking at the sleek white outline of the Vagabond. And suddenly, as waves of nausea swept through him, he understood everything. Drucker had deliberately ruined him, and undoubtedly with Karen's knowledge. These last 6 weeks, Karen had been in Reno divorcing him by default. Everything had been taken from him. His money, his wife, his pride, and he hated them for it. Eric stood there raging, his eyes fixed on the porthole he knew to be that of Drucker's own cabin. And suddenly he realized that he was going to kill Drucker. And a second later, he knew how he was going to kill him. He returned to his rooms and dialed the number of the Herald, asking for Oliver Fay.
Fay speaking.
Mr. Fay, this is Eric Patterson.
Oh, yes.
Look, I want to apologize for my rudeness earlier this evening.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Patterson. People are often harsh.
Yes, well, I'm sorry. I would like to give you a statement now. It's simply that Henry Drucker and I are close friends, and, well, there's no ill feeling between any of us. You understand. I certainly wish them the best of everything.
Well, good. I'll print that, and I'll show it to them tomorrow night. And, you know, there's a pre-wedding party aboard the Vagabond.
Oh? What time are they sailing? I might want to send them a wire.
Well, I have my little notes right here. Let me see now. Cocktails at 5:30, then dinner at about 8, and finally the sailing around 2 a.m., I think. You know, it's going to be such fun. I'm the only one of the literary crowd they've included.
Oliver Fay gushed on, but Eric wasn't listening now. He had all the information he needed. Henry Drucker was as good as dead right now. About 6:30 next evening, Eric stood in the shadows of the pier and watched the last of the guests arrive and board the Vagabond. Then he walked quickly across the open area directly to the porthole of Drucker's cabin. He was unobserved. The porthole was on a level with the pier, and Eric had to lie on his stomach in order to crawl through it. A moment later, he was safely inside. He closed the porthole and waited for his eyes to become accustomed to the darkness. Then he found the night table by Drucker's bunk and removed the hypodermic needle and insulin. Quickly, he filled the syringe with more than enough insulin to kill a man and placed it carefully on top of the table. Next, he found a towel and rolled it lengthwise. With it, he could choke Drucker into unconsciousness without leaving a mark. Now he was ready. An hour passed, then 2, and a third more slowly than ever. And for the first time, Eric grew nervous. Another hour, and the towel in his hands was wet with perspiration. What had happened? Had Drucker, in the excitement of the evening, forgotten his injection? Panic began to rise in Eric, and he fought it back desperately. And then suddenly he heard a key in the door. He stood back and waited. The door opened, and Drucker, a black figure against the light of the corridor, entered the cabin. Eric waited until he'd locked the door behind him. Then he moved. The towel went around Drucker's neck, and Eric twisted it with a frenzied strength. After a moment or two, Drucker ceased to struggle, and Eric finally released him. He might have been dead already, but to be sure and to make it look like suicide or an accident, he injected the overdose of insulin. Then it was over. Perfect. Eric sighed deeply with relief and satisfaction.
Mr. Drucker? Mr. Drucker? Oh, come now, I know you're in there. You promised me an interview, you know.
Terror-stricken, Eric moved to the portal. His hands trembled as he opened it and prepared to climb through. But something was wrong. The portal was open, but he couldn't get out. Blocking it 6 inches from his hands was a solid wall of pilings, great timbers side by side. The floor of the pier was now 2 feet above him. For a moment he was dazed. And then he knew. The tide. The tide was going out, and the ship had dropped a few feet with it. The tide had cut off Eric's only escape. He was hopelessly trapped. He sat down heavily,
almost ready to cry.
I'm still here, Mr. Drucker, and I'll wait right here all night if necessary. Do you hear me?
The Black Book stars Paul Frees as your teller of tales, assisted today by the noted Hollywood actor John Daner. The Vagabond Murder was written by Norman MacDonald and John Meston and directed by Mr. MacDonald. The special music is composed and conducted by Leith Stevens. Every Monday night, a top Hollywood star plays the leading role in a thrill-packed story on Suspense on most of these same CBS radio stations. Clarence Cassell speaking. Remember, Broadway Playhouse brings you top stars and top stories Sunday nights on the CBS Radio Network.
Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd, as Dan Holliday.
Speak a little, Miss Jordan. To Box 13, care of the Star Times. I need your help. I dare not go to the police for reasons I'll explain when you see me. Please come to my office in the security.
Come to my office in the security building, signed Douglas McIntosh. Not much of a letter, but then, as the proverb says, great oaks from little acorns grow. And before this was over, the acorn grew into a large, large oak. And now, back to Box 13 and Dan Holliday's newest adventure, 3 to Die.
Douglas McIntosh. That's a Scotch name, isn't it?
Ah, you can smell the heather, Susie.
Wonder what he wants.
Well, if this man is the same McIntosh I looked up, he's building that new tunnel under the river.
Gee, maybe he wants you to be a hedgehog.
No, Susie, they're called sandhogs.
Oh, what will they think of next?
Well, I think I'll see what Mr. McIntosh has on his mind. I'll be at the security building, Susie. Security building? Huh. It was the only security I was to know until the whole thing was over. Anyway, I went to McIntosh's office. I was shown right in to an oversized man who looked as big as the Washington Monument in tweeds. He didn't waste much time.
So you're the man, eh?
Yes, I'm the man.
All right. You call me Mac. What's your name?
Holliday. Dan Holliday.
All right. Now, Dan, I am in trouble.
Trouble gets around.
Fast. But look here, and I'll tell you quick. I'm a contractor. I bid on this new tunnel. Got the bid and posted my bond to finish the tunnel on time.
So far, everything's clear. What now?
Dan, I'm not going to finish in time.
Well, why not?
Now we get to the point, and a sharp point.
You say you're running into trouble?
Aye. Sabotage.
Well, why don't you call the police?
I can't, man. There'd be publicity. Unfavorable. I can't risk it.
Oh, then what's my problem?
Find out who's doing this to me.
You suspect someone of doing it?
Now, look, man. Accidents like we've been having don't just happen. They're made. Broken air hoses, emery in the compressors, hundreds of delays, little things that add up to hours.
Oh, I see.
Another thing. So far, the men working for me think these things are accidents. But the moment they suspect somebody's doing the dirty work in that tunnel, they'd walk out. Sandhagen's dangerous enough itself.
In short, somebody's trying to ruin you.
Exactly. It would ruin me. The contract would go to someone else. They'd not get another contract for years.
What can I do? I'm not a detective. You see,
I beg your pardon, Mr. McIntosh, but...
Can't you see I'm busy? What do you want?
Telegram. I thought you ought to see it right away.
All right, read it.
Well,
Oh, it's all right. You can talk in front of him. Dan, this is Fred Harris, construction engineer. Harris, Dan Holliday.
I need to know you.
Now, what about that wire?
The last shipment of concrete we ordered was derailed about 200 miles from here.
What? Well, don't just stand there. Get every truck out of the road. Get that concrete here. You ought to have enough sense to think of that without coming to me first. Go ahead, get it down.
Yes, sir.
You see what I mean, Dan? Another delay.
Who's this Harris?
He thinks he's going to be my son-in-law. Also, he thinks an engineering degree makes him a great man, that it takes the place of 15 years of experience.
That's an argument I'd rather watch from the sideline. Well, go on with your story.
Well, we have to finish in 3 weeks or I'll forfeit my contract.
McIntosh told me everything he knew. It wasn't much. Only that whoever was doing the dirty work, causing accidents, delays, had to be working in the tunnel. So we went to the tunnel. But first, before I was taken down into the workings, I was given khaki coveralls and a fiber helmet. And a little metal tag to hang around my neck. Mac explained the tag.
Every sandhog gets one of those. It's got his own number on it.
Well, what's it for?
Ever hear of caisson disease?
Oh, the bends?
Aye. Well, on one side of the tag, it explains the man is a caisson worker, working under pressure.
Oh, so if the disease hits him on the surface, he can be given proper treatment.
That's it. There are 6 places in the city where that can be treated. The man is put into a chamber, pressure increased, then gradually decreased.
Like a diver. If he comes up too fast, the nitrogen in his blood is forced into his tissues. Causes pain.
And sometimes worse. You seem to know a lot about it, Dan.
I'm a writer. A writer has to know a little about everything.
Then I hope you'll be able to tell me more about what's going on down there. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
Let's go.
Together, Mac and I rode one of the hoists down into the workings. My ears began to pop from the pressure. I swallowed hard to keep them open. Then we came to the bottom of the shaft, about 150 feet below the surface of the ground. Mac looked around for a minute, and then...
Angus! Angus! Here, come here!
A short, powerfully built man walked over to us. He was grinning as he said to Mac,
What brings the boss into the tunnel? Angus, meet a friend of mine, Dan Holliday. Dan Angus Campbell, my foreman. Best man in the world in his line.
Aye, the best beside yourself. How do you do, Dan?
How are you, Angus?
First rate. Except we had another little rumpus today, Mac.
What?
Another break in the air hose at the shield. The hose whipped around.
Anybody hurt?
Aye, Phil Evans. Hose got him right in the middle. He's done for this job. Won't work for a month. Broken ribs.
Another one.
Aye. You visiting us here, Dan?
Well, you might call it that.
Dan's a writer. Doing a story on sand hogging. Wants atmosphere.
You'll get it here. You want to see the works?
Show him around, Angus. And be careful of it.
Don't you worry, Mac.
Good. I'll go back to the office now. Come back there when you finish, Dan.
Oh, sure.
Oh, it's got him worried, Dan. And little wonder. Every penny he stands to lose. Every penny.
That bad, huh?
Worse. And if I ever catch the one that's doing it, I'll whip him around with me bare hands.
You and Mac seem to be good friends, huh?
I started together 30 years ago in Scotland.
Uh-huh. Well, time's fleeting. Want to show me around?
Sure. Let's get going.
I followed Angus into a big airlock. It was a reinforced concrete compartment with double steel doors. As one door closed behind us, the pressure was built up to equal that in the tunnel. It built gradually. But I knew what would happen if it went down fast. Caisson disease. A terrible, racking pain. Rather, I had a lot of respect for the men who worked down there day after day, taking risks, big chances every time they descended into the workings. Then he opened another steel door, and Angus and I were in the tunnel itself. As soon as my ears became used to the noise, Angus guided me through a small, flat car. We got on and rolled down narrow gauge tracks to the center of the tunnel.
If you can hear me, this car runs down by gravity. But the handbrake on it to slow it or stop. There's a motor for running back up. Saves time on a job like this.
How long is the tunnel?
This is about a half mile long now.
This side?
Aye. They started on the other bank of the river the same time we did.
Oh. Did you have any trouble over there?
No, only on this side. But we're keeping up with them. I'll keep driving till this thing's finished, accidents or no accidents.
How much time have you got?
3 weeks.
Think you'll make it?
We've got to. Our Mac stands to lose every minute. Look, there's the end of the track.
I looked ahead. A tremendous scaffold rose into the air. Men covered it like ants, working with pneumatic drills, shovels, wheelbarrows. Dump trucks ran back and forth, filled with the mud and shale dug out of the wall of earth that lay ahead. I looked up, and I felt a little funny when I realized that right over my head was the river, and lots of clean, fresh air, while down here was nothing but the deafening noise of the hammers, and the thought that death worked right next to every one of these men. Angus noticed me gazing up at the scaffold.
First time you ever saw anything like this, eh?
Yes. What holds all that mud back?
That shield and compressed air.
Air? Just air holding back the river?
Aye. You see, compressed air here in the tunnel is built up to a pressure equal to the pressure that's shoving down from above.
Oh, in other words, if the pressure outside this tunnel is, 45 pounds per square inch, that's the pressure in here.
Right.
This may not be a good question, but what happens if the pressure in here gets less?
We'd be crushed to jelly.
Nice thought.
That's no all. There's always the danger of a blowout.
What's that?
Sometimes we hit a weak spot in the riverbed. The bed won't take all the pressure we got in here.
And you get a blowout, like a tire blowing out.
Aye. The men, machinery, equipment all blown to the surface of the river and into the air.
Has that ever happened?
Aye. And once, only once, mind you, a man lived to tell about it.
Angus, I take off my hat to you boys down here. 1 million people drive through tunnels every day. Yet maybe not 1 in 100 stops to think how the tunnel was built. And what it cost. Not only in money, but in injury, in death.
Yeah, when a man takes to sand hogging, he takes to the danger too, wouldn't he?
Only what?
We've only got the half crew working today.
Oh? Why?
2 men have been killed. Nobody wants to be the third.
Superstition?
Maybe. But lots of the men are staying home until the third. Well, what I said.
Angus showed me the whole thing. Oh, there were a million ways in which someone could sabotage the works. Break an air hose, tamper with compressed air gauges, lots of ways. Then later Angus took me to a complicated affair. It was like an elevator case. In fact, it was an elevator, as Angus explained.
This is the latest thing. Combination elevator and decompression chamber. Hop in, we'll go back up. We go up slow, Dan. As we go up, the pressure in here is decreased until it's equal to that of the surface.
Oh, then there's no danger of caisson disease.
Not if we go up slow enough. And the pressure's reduced. I set the gauges to do it for us.
Oh, I see.
Well, did you see enough to write your story?
No, I don't think I have. Not yet.
So, you didn't see anything, Dan?
Of course not, Mac. How could I?
I was hoping you might get an idea.
Yeah, but I didn't.
You going back again?
What could I find?
Try it, man.
Oh, but I don't think I could find any.
You advertised adventure. You couldn't get it in a better place.
Yes, I know, but how could I explain myself down there?
You're a writer. Use your imagination, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, Suppose I went back there as a worker.
As a sand hog, you mean?
Mm-hmm, that's it.
But you don't know anything about it.
I can handle a hammer, a shovel,
You'd get dirty and tired. Every muscle in your body'd hollow out loud at you.
Well, I can always say I'm doing it for my art. Be a sand hog, see how it feels, then write about it.
By Harry, man, you've got it. All right, then. Starting tomorrow, you're a sand hog.
Oh, that was the way to do it. But when I got home that evening, I thought about it. That huge scaffold. Men scrambling over it, the pressure within the tunnel holding back the tons and tons of mud and silt ready to come in and crush everyone. What if that pressure failed? What if they hit a weak spot in the riverbed and there was a blowout? The more I thought about it, the more inclined I was to... Yes?
Telegram.
Oh. Shove it under the door, will you?
Right.
Oh. And what a telegram. It read, "Save for the fact that I don't want more bloodshed, you'd have gotten yours today. Stay away from the tunnel, or you'll be the third to die."
And now back to Three to Die, another Box 13 adventure with Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
I showed Mac the telegram the next day, and what he said filled the air with dark blue color for 10 minutes. Then...
We could check to see who sent this.
No dice, Mac, I did.
And?
It was sent from a pay phone booth.
I guess you'll be changing your mind about the job now, eh?
Oh, what makes you say that?
Well, he's after you, whoever it is.
Yes, I know.
You can back out if you want to.
And what would you think if I did?
Does that make a difference?
No, but there are a lot of men in that tunnel who stand to lose their lives. Mac, you've got to get the police.
I can't, man, I can't. The publicity would ruin me.
All right. Fix it up for me to work down there, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I became a sandhog. For 3 days, I used muscles that thought they'd gone on a permanent vacation. Well, I woke them up, and they woke me up in the middle of the night, aching. Then one day in the tunnel, I was talking with one of the sandhogs.
You know, Dan, you done pretty well, considering you're new at this.
Oh, I ache, Joe. I ache all over.
Hey, you'll get used to it.
I don't think so. But, Joe, tell me something.
Sure, what?
What about these accidents down here?
Oh, them.
What about them?
Well, maybe they're just part of the job.
Well, what do you think?
Well, some of them weren't just like accidents, that's all. I mean, well, like a hose break. 2 guys been killed.
Now what?
Look out! Hey, you all right?
Yeah, okay. You?
I could have shoved you, Dan. That car would have clipped you in half.
Yeah. Look. Looking at the decompression chamber, huh?
Well, Harris? Yeah, Harris.
Oh.
See what I mean? That car didn't look like no accident.
Thanks, Joe. And this is one time I can honestly say I was glad I was shoved.
That's okay. You know something? You were almost as safe to die.
Before leaving the tunnel, I ran down to the spot where that car had hit the stop bump at the end of the track. It was wrecked. But in the wreckage, I found something. One of the tags, like the one I had. This one had the number 57 on it. I slipped it in my pocket. Maybe one of these sandhogs had dropped it. Then, just as I was about to step into the decompression chamber, Angus Campbell came up to me and...
Your shift's going off, Don?
Yeah, I'm finished for the day. Almost in more ways than one.
Huh? What do you mean?
Come on, let's get in. I want to get back up.
All right. Tired?
I'm worried.
I can guess why.
Huh?
Look, I know you're no writing a story on Sandhagen. I know why you're down here.
Oh, you do?
Aye. Max desperate. I want him to call the police, but he won't.
How did you find out about me?
You've been nosing around, then?
That obvious, huh?
Aye, but be careful, lad. Be careful.
Yeah, I will be.
Joe told me about the car that almost got you.
Somebody sent it down the tracks.
Aye.
Angus.
Aye?
You've been with Mac a long time. 30 years.
30 years. Good ones, bad ones.
And yet you stay with a job.
I could have a top job on the surface.
I see. Angus, got any idea who's doing all this?
No.
Harris?
Huh? Why him?
Mac doesn't like him.
Ah, talk sense there. What point in Harris's ruining his own father-in-law?
Father-in-law to be, Angus.
Still no point?
Then how about the protection insurance to cover the completion bond?
Eh? You mean Mac might be doing this himself to get the insurance?
This could be.
No, lad. The insurance wouldn't have covered the lot. No, that's no it.
And why?
I wish I knew. Competitors, do you think?
Who are they?
Brill and Company. But no, they wouldn't. They'd be too easy to find out. Men got a habit of talking. And talk gets around. No, Dan, that's no them.
And then who and why? And why did someone try to kill me today?
You get the answers to those things, Dan, and you'll have the whole thing. Well, we're up at the top.
I'll walk to the shack with you.
No, I'm going back June.
But I thought you were through for the day.
I've still got lots to do. See you tomorrow.
What Angus said made sense. Couldn't be Mac's competitors, because I checked. They'd been in business a long time, had plenty of money behind them. Had gotten a bid for another job upstate. And Harris? It didn't make sense either. If he was going to be Mac's son-in-law, it just didn't wash that he'd be sabotaging Mac. So I changed clothes, thought a lot, and then went home. Went out to get some dinner when it hit me. First the twinge, sudden cramps that made me bend over as if someone had folded me inward with a baseball bat. The building started to spin, twist, then it got all nice and dark.
There you are. You're all right now.
I know this isn't very original, but where am I?
Take a deep breath. That's it. Feel better?
Lots. What happened? Couldn't have been anything I ate.
You had the bends.
The bends?
Mm-hmm. The tag around your neck tipped us off you were suffering from caisson disease. So we put you in the chamber. Come on, get up. We may need this chamber for someone else any minute.
You make it sound as bad as the housing situation.
Yes, it is, but you're all right now. Next time, don't come up so fast.
But I didn't come up fast.
Yes?
Nothing. Nothing at all. Thanks a million, Doctor. Well, it had me. Good. I knew I came up slowly. Angus had been with me. Oh, but that couldn't be. Not Angus. The next day I went back to the job. I had just put on my coveralls when an idea hit me. I searched in my pocket.
Lose something, Dan?
Huh? Oh, no, Joe,
It's easy to drop something out of these coveralls.
What's the number of your tag, Joe?
Tag? Oh, the one we all wear in case we get the bends on top?
Yeah.
502. Why?
Got it on?
Sure. I always wear it. Here it is.
Uh-huh.
Why? What are you getting at?
I don't know. Listen, I'm going back for something I forgot. I'll be a little late on the job. Tell the section boss for me, will you?
Sure. Where you going? You're all hepped up.
Yeah. I guess I am, Joe. I'll be back. I went to see Mac. Told him he'd have to go into the tunnel that day and supervise operations. He thought I was crazy.
Me? What for?
To force your opponents into the open where we can get a shot at them for a change.
I don't get this.
Look, they're going after you, but by accidents. Things like that.
So?
But if you're in the workings, they might be tempted to wreck the entire tunnel with one stroke.
Do you mean by going after me?
That's it.
You want me to lead with my chin like that? I'll call the whole thing off first. Lose the contracts. Money isn't everything. Exactly.
You're right. But men have been killed down there. You've got to think of their lives, too.
I do.
Then get down with me. End this once and for all. Force them into the open.
You're going to?
Yeah, because I've got an idea. But I can't prove a thing until we see the last play. I was leading with Mac's chin, and I knew it. But mine was plenty sore, too, and that made me feel a bit better about it. Mac knew he had no choice, and so he decided to go with me into the tunnel. I went to my job, and it was a ticklish feeling knowing that any minute something might happen. Something that would make Joe, Mac, Angus, any one of us prepared to die. Or worse. Then...
Hey, Dan. What is something, Sonny?
Sonny, what?
I could have sworn the mud down here wasn't this deep before.
What do you mean, Joe?
Look. Stand still. Look around. The mud's coming up. It's getting high.
Yeah, it is. Joe, the pressure here must be going down.
Yes. Dan, if it gets too low, that wall will come in on us. The whole river will be in our lap.
Come on, let's get to the gauges.
Dan, what's the matter?
Pressure's going down in here.
Come on.
There's nothing wrong with the gauges. They read the right pressure.
But they can't. The mud's getting higher.
Look, the men are coming in. They've seen the mud coming up.
These gauges.
Hey, there ain't no air being pumped in. The gauges are stuck. Jammed. Somebody jammed them so anybody reading them will think the pressure was okay.
Get to the emergency compressors.
Pressure's dropping fast. Get to the compressors. Get them on.
I got them.
Watch the gauges.
We're getting pressure now.
What's the matter? What happened? Angus, somebody jammed the pressure gauges to make it look like we had enough in here.
Jammed? Well, save for those emergency compressors, we'd have been done for.
What did you say, Angus?
I said the emergency compressors.
You said save for the emergency. Save for. Funny way of putting it, Angus. Either in words or on a telegram.
What's the matter with you?
Where's your tag?
Huh? Right here?
Yes, with a new chain. So is your tag I picked up in that cart yesterday. The cart that almost killed me.
You're crazy.
And you weren't anywhere around a minute ago.
I was coming in here.
Dan, what you trying to say?
There's your saboteur.
Man, you're crazy. Stop raving crazy.
Yeah? And you went back down yesterday to decompress yourself after I left the chamber. You didn't turn on the decompression valve for me on the way up.
You're crazy, man.
I'm crazy, Angus, because you were the only one who could have played that trick on me. Get me out of the way by failing to turn on the decompression valve. You and I were the only ones in that chamber.
Hey, he's running back to the shield.
Get him. Get him before he gets the compressors. You'll wreck him.
Cut him down.
Good.
Dan, I never can thank you enough. But to think that after 30 years, Angus would ever do a thing like this.
Mac, don't waste time even thinking about it. Let's go finish this tunnel instead.
Gee, what was the matter with him, Mr. Holliday?
Jealousy, Susie? You see, he'd worked with Mac as a foreman. Then he saw Mac rise from a foreman to the owner of a big company. For 30 years, every day he'd go into the tunnel just an employee, while Mac stayed on top, the big boss.
And it kind of made him, well, jealous, huh?
To put it mildly, yes.
Golly. Well, that makes up my mind for me, Mr. Holliday.
Congratulations, Susie.
Huh?
What do you mean?
I quit.
Huh?
In about 29 years.
Oh. Good night, Susie.
Next week, same time, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Box 13 is directed by Richard Sandville. Free to Die is an original story by Mr. Sandville, adapted for radio by Russell Hughes. Original music is composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager. The part of Susie is played by Sylvia Picker. Production is supervised by Vern Karstensen. This is a Mayfair production from Hollywood. Watch for Alan Ladd in his latest Paramount picture. Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd, as Dan Holliday.
Dear Box 13, care of the Star Times. If that there ad of yours is on the level, if you'll go any place, do anything, I'll be waiting for you at 3 tomorrow afternoon in the park. I'll be sitting on one of the benches near the lake.
I'll be sitting on one of the benches near the lake. And you'll know me because I got red hair. That was the letter written on the back of an old handbill. Poor Red. I wonder if he would have written a letter had he known what was going to happen. You know, I think maybe he would have.
And now, back to Box 13 and Dan Holliday's newest adventure, The Philanthropist.
It's sure dirty and all full of finger marks.
Ah, Susie, don't be a snob.
I'm not, Mr. Holliday, but it's very evident that this person isn't too particular.
Why, Susie, you went through a whole sentence without shifting gears.
Oh, I can be careful of my renunciation if I want to be.
Oh, Susie, you had to spoil it. Never mind, it's a fine day, so I'll be in the park by 3 o'clock to see what Red has on his mind. It was just 3 when I turned into the park. The benches by the lake were pretty well filled, and I looked around for one that was being held down by a person with red hair. And I saw him. Susie must have been psychic, only she wouldn't have pronounced it that way. Red was dressed in a suit that must have had a tentative date with a pressing iron maybe 10 years before, and didn't keep it. If he had ever shaved, the shock had been too great for his face, and he had stopped. His red hair bounced out of his head like wires, and he was eating peanuts. Good afternoon, Red.
Huh? Oh, hiya, chum.
Mind if I sit down?
It's a democracy, ain't it? Drop, chum.
You wrote to Box 13, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
He gave me the once-over, but good. He seemed to be satisfying himself that he'd want to talk to me. He must have checked an okay because...
that ad of yours, was it on the level?
On the level, Red.
How'd you know my name?
Hunch. I have an intuitive sense for names.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. Peanut?
Oh, thanks.
Gotta pick 'em up fast before the pigeons snag 'em.
Nothing.
Say, how comes a guy like you sticks that ad in the paper?
Adventure. I use the plots for my fiction, if they're any good.
Oh, you're right, huh?
Well, that's my bread and butter.
Tough racket?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I guess. But you make a lot of dough?
It all depends. How about you?
I'm retired.
Oh. What's on your mind, Red?
What's your name?
Dan Holliday.
Uh-huh. Okay, Dan. Peanut?
No, thanks.
Okay. Dan, I want to know where my pal is.
Your pal? Is he missing?
Yeah. We left Shy together. Then the yard bulls cut a fast clip on us, and we do a split.
In other words, you were separated by railroad detectives.
Yeah. The best way to keep him being jugged up on a bag charge. Well, anyway, we're supposed to meet him in town.
And he didn't show up?
Yeah. I got in late. Had to stop off at Indianapolis. So I go to the place where Suki told me to...
Suki? Yes. Is that his name?
I guess. I ain't never heard him say no other one.
All right, and then what?
Well, we was going to meet here at the Hope Rescue Mission. You know where it is?
I think so. At least I know the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, I wait there 1, 2, 3, 5 days. But no Suki. I get worried. I ask around. But nobody's seen Suki.
Well, maybe he changed his plans, Red.
Without consulting me? Mister, Suki wouldn't leave without me. We're pals, buddies. We've been hitting roads for 5 years together. Something's happened to Suki.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Well, I thought maybe you could help me look for him.
Well, look, Red, the police could...
You kidding?
But if he's missing, they can locate him for you.
One bag missing ain't nothing, mister. Something bad's happened to Suki.
Well, how do you know?
Because one of the bows in the jungle said Suki was talking about a job. That funny, mister?
Look, Red, maybe Suki did get the job and...
Then why ain't I heard from him?
Maybe you will sooner or later.
You ain't gonna help me then.
But what can I possibly do, Red? In a city this size...
Yeah, I get it. In a city this size, nobody cares none about a guy like Suki. Except maybe a guy like me. He pulled me out from under a freight once. Almost got it himself by doing it. I like Suki. We're buddies.
Red stared out over the lake, and somehow a little lump came into my throat. Certainly, Red was no pillar of society, but he was a man. a human being, and Suki was his friend. For a minute, neither of us said anything, then...
Okay, mister. Forget the whole thing. Sorry I got you out of bed.
Oh, wait a minute, Red. Come back here and sit down.
Huh? What for?
I want to help you.
Why?
Well, I guess I like Suki, too.
But you ain't never seen him.
No, I don't have to. He saved your life, risked his own. Now, what do you want me to do?
You're a topper, Dan. A good guy. Suki like you, too.
Well, now, what's your idea? Well, Red had an idea that we could find out what became of Suki by going to the mission. But as Red put it, I'd have to dress differently. So that night I wore my oldest suit. I helped it along a little by dipping it in water and letting it dry. Oh, yes, and I forgot to shave. I had something to eat, then went to meet Red at the Hope Mission. It was typical of the missions that do a great job helping, well, men who need it. It was clean, neat. And when I got there, the men were just sitting down to supper at a long wooden table. I was looking over the room when...
Good evening. How are you today?
Fine, thanks.
You're just in time for supper. Sit down, won't you?
Well, you see,
Now, this is your first time here, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is.
That's perfectly all right. You needn't feel embarrassed or ashamed. Now, you come and sit down to a nice hot meal.
Well, that's very nice.
My name is Work, Mrs. Work. I superintend the mission here.
My name's Dan.
Very well, Dan. Now, just come with me.
I followed her to the table. She made me sit down, then put a bowl of soup in front of me. I wasn't hungry.
There you are, Dan. Now, just you go to it and you'll feel better in a jiffy. Gentlemen, this is Dan. Dan, these are my boys. Is the soup all right, boys?
Smiley. Huh? What'd you say? Something the matter? No, why?
Eat the soup, then.
Well, I don't...
You want to hurt her feelings?
Well, of course not, but
Then eat the soup, Bub.
Look, I don't see how I can eat it when I just got...
Look. You gotta eat the soup, Bub, and I'll show you how. Like this. It's easy, see? Now eat it.
Okay, you start and I'll find the right key.
There. Good, ain't it?
Swell.
New here, huh?
Yeah.
Where'd you pull in from?
Shy.
Good job.
Oh, swell.
You ain't eating the soup, Bub.
It's hot.
Blow on it.
Okay. See Red this evening?
Red?
Yeah, Red.
Oh, Red. Yeah, he was here.
Was? You mean he left?
Yeah, he picked up a letter that was here from him.
A letter? You picked up a letter?
What are you, a spy or something?
I'm a friend of Red's.
Oh, well, he was here. Like I said, he had a letter and beat it.
Did you see who the letter was from?
What am I, the postmaster? Shut up and eat your soup.
Okay, but it's still hot. Well, I ate the soup, and I stayed in the mission until 10 o'clock. Red didn't show up, and that worried me because I knew that for all his toughness, he was anxious and worried about Suki. Then when I decided not to wait any longer...
All right, gentlemen, we're going to have our song now. You'll find the song sheets on the chair.
Well, I'll see you later.
Where you going?
I got a date.
It'll keep. You heard what Mrs. Work said. We're going to sing.
But I've got to leave now.
You're going to sing. You ate the soup and you're going to sing. What's the matter? You don't appreciate this, huh?
Of course I do. I think it's a wonderful thing, but
Well, then sing. Here's the song sheet.
Now, we're going to sing number 4. Everyone has a sheet?
Can you sing loud?
Deafening at times.
That's good enough. And keep on key. I don't like sour notes.
Oh, I'll try to be operatic about the whole thing.
Well, here, hold the sheet up.
Until we can get a melodeon, we'll have to do the best we can. All right, here's the first note. Now, 1, 2, 3.
Right in the corner where you are. Sing, Pup, sing. Right in the corner where you are.
Well, I sang, then I left. I wondered about Red and wondered about that letter. Was it from Suki? It wasn't until the next day that I got the jolt. I was in the office when Susie brought me the morning paper.
Morning paper, Mr. Holliday, and the mail from Box 13.
Oh, thanks, Susie. What's new in the world?
Not much. And only 3 letters for box 13. One from a lady who wants to know if you take babysitting.
Oh, that's too much of an adventure.
Then there's one from a man who wants you to leave your brain to science.
Oh, great. This is great.
Then here's one from a woman who wants you...
Hey.
What's the matter, Mr. Holliday?
This item in the paper here. Accident. Rail yards. Vagrant. Killed. Description. Hair red. Susie, I've got to leave for a while. I'll see you later.
So what? A vag gets killed. We get a dozen like that a year.
But look, Kling, I told you about Suki.
Suki, Smokey. His pal of yours was hitting the rods and get killed.
I know. It happens a dozen times a year.
Sure. Now look. So Red got a letter from Suki. Suki told him where he was. They're pals. Red takes off to find him, gets tangled with...
You're forgetting one thing, Kling.
And that's...
Red had a lump on his head.
So?
I think he was slugged.
All right, he was slugged. Got in a fight in the yards. Dan. You're letting that box 13 imagination whip you around on a merry-go-round. This is just one of those things. Now I've got to go to work.
Suppose I turn up something, Kling. Something that proves Red was killed by somebody who wanted that letter.
Then I'll be glad to fill out your dance card. Until then, rumba by yourself.
Okay, but I've got a hunch that Red was killed because Suki told him where he was. And I'm going to find out where and why.
And now back to The Philanthropist, another Box 13 adventure with Alan Ladd as Dan Holiday.
Sure, I was going to find out where and why. Sounded a lot easier than it turned out. But I still believe the place to start looking was a rescue mission. I haunted it. Went back night after night, day after day, until finally my face was as familiar there as the surface of the floor. Then one evening...
Good evening, Dan. How are you?
Oh, fine, Miss Work. How are you?
Splendid. Do you like it here, Dan?
Yes, I do.
I've been watching you. Somehow you don't seem like the others.
Hmm? Why not? I'm no different from them.
No, not in so many words. But, well...
What's the matter?
Dan, wouldn't you like to help yourself?
How do you mean that?
Oh, get a job, rehabilitate yourself.
Do you think I need it?
All of us do, more or less. Now, there's a gentleman who's done so very much for the mission here. Contributions, furniture, lots of things.
And?
He's done quite a bit for other missions, too, I understand. I want to send you to him, Dan.
Why? What can he do for me?
I've sent other men to him. The ones I think are worth the effort.
And you think I am? Is that it?
Yes.
And what'll he do for me?
If he likes you, he may give you a job if you want one.
You say he gives jobs to other men from other missions, too?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh. Okay, Mrs. Work. I'll give him a whirl.
Fine, Dan. Splendid. I'll give you his name and address, and you go see him the first thing in the morning.
Maybe this was the lead I'd been waiting for. Red had spoken about Suki going to get a job. Okay. I looked at the name on the slip of paper Mrs. Work gave me. It was Philip G. Rockman. And the next morning found me sitting across from him in his office.
Well, so Mrs. Work sent you, did she?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Fine woman, splendid. Magnificent work she's doing down there.
Yes, sir, it is.
In my own little way, I try to help as much as I can.
Yes, that's what she said.
Mm-hmm. How old are you, Dan?
32.
I see. Somehow you don't seem like the usual type she sends to me.
What is the usual type, Mr. Rockman?
Oh, it's no matter. But do you really want a job, Dan?
Yes, sir, I do.
Mm-hmm. For the wife and kiddies, eh?
No, I'm not married.
Oh, too bad. Then it's because you want to show your relatives that you can make a comeback?
I have no relatives.
Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted to hear.
What?
Well, you see, I never give jobs to men who have relatives. I feel as though I should be helping those who are out all alone in the world. I want to reach out and make men feel, well, that there is someone who cares. Do you see that, Dan?
Yes, I do. It's very generous of you, Mr. Rockland.
Oh, nothing at all. My own little contribution toward making this a better world. Well, Dan, I think we have just the job for you. But you'll have to leave town.
Leave town? You mean the job's in a different city?
Well, yes, it is. But don't you worry. I pay your transportation. Not first class, but you'll get there. And it just so happens that you'll be the last one to take this kind of job. It's all I have.
I didn't like the way he said I'd be the last. If this was a racket, what kind was it? What was Rockland angled? There was no way to find out, so I went to the city he sent me to. It was far enough away from Rockland to be safe and close enough so that Rockland could keep his eye on it. It was the next afternoon that I walked to the address Rockland had given me, and I knocked on the door.
Yeah?
Mr. Rockland sent me.
Okay, come on in. Let me see the letter.
Here it is.
Okay, follow me, bud.
I followed him down the hallway, and I took a good look at the place while I was doing it. I noticed something. It was one of those old brownstone houses, and every window was barred. The bars weren't new. They'd been put there by the original owner. Why should Rockland pick a place like this, then...
Sit down a minute. Oh, your name's Dan, huh?
Yeah, that's right, Dan.
Had anything to eat?
No.
Okay, supper's in 10 minutes. Go in and wash up.
Where?
Straight ahead and to your right, there's a big washroom. Then go in the room right across when you're finished.
Sure, thanks. There were about 7 of them in the room, talking, washing their hands, smoking. One of them looked up when I entered. He seemed to be expecting someone. Then when he saw me, he went back to washing his hands. I moved in next to him. Hiya, fella.
Hi. Just come, huh?
Yeah. Hey, what is this joint?
Softest touch in the world, guy. What's your name?
Dan. Yours?
Call me Suki.
Suki.
Yeah, why?
You a pal of Red's?
Red. Hey, where is he? Why didn't he come? I've been waiting for him. Red's got to get in on this thing.
Red was killed, Suki.
What are you giving me?
I told Suki about Red, but I didn't mention what I was doing in the game. When I finished...
Red killed. He was coming to meet me here. I sent him a letter telling him all
You sent him a letter from here?
Yeah. I ain't supposed to do no writing or tell anybody about this, but Red's my pal. I wrote the letter and snuck it out, but...
Suki, I think Red was killed because you sent him that letter.
Huh? What are you yapping about? What are you doing?
All right, you guys, supper's on. Come on.
I'll talk to you later, Suki.
Yeah, after supper in the sleeping room. Dan, you sleeping?
No. Is that you, Suki?
Yeah, don't light no match. Now, what was you telling me in the washroom?
Listen, Suki. First, tell me what kind of a place this is. What do you do here?
That's a soft touch, though. We do assort old magazines, and then we make a kind of... Well, we write down what's in each magazine, and then...
You mean all you do here is index magazines?
Yeah. We get to live here, board and room. Grub's pretty good, only...
Only what, Suki?
Well, we ain't allowed to leave. We gotta stay here. Only place we go out is in the backyard.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Oh, what's the difference? It's a soft touch. We each get a couple of bucks after we fixed up 10 magazines.
What's the racket, Suki? What's the racket?
Well, there ain't none, but Hey, that's the nose counter. Make sure we're all in. I gotta get back to my bunk.
The same man who let me in came through and checked each bunk. What was the angle? I lay there watching, waiting, thinking. The moonlight filtered in through the bars at the windows, and suddenly I remembered something else. The doors. Big, heavy, reinforced. Then the man came close to my bunk. I could feel him looking down at me. I must have looked as though I was sleeping like a baby. He walked on and out. And he locked the door after him. All of us were prisoners in that room. For 5 days, I worked like the rest of the men, sorting magazines, indexing them, a boring job that made absolutely no sense. And we were watched, but good. No letters in or out. Doors locked at night, windows all barred, 2 men watching us, checking us. And then one day I was taken to an office, one I'd never been in before. Rockland was there.
I've called you in, Dan, because there's a little formality to be gone through.
Formality?
Yes, the other men have gone through it. Workman's compensation policy. We'll take you to the physical examiner this afternoon. It'll be all over in a jiffy.
Oh, I see. Do I have to sign anything?
Oh, no. Everything's been taken care of. It's a matter of form, you understand.
Oh, sure.
Excellent. At 2 this afternoon, then.
So at 2 that afternoon, I was given a physical examination. I passed. I was beginning to get an idea. One that made me a little sick, scared. That evening after supper, I got Suki to one side and told him what I thought.
Oh, but you're crazy, Dan. You gotta be. They couldn't get away with anything like that.
Listen to me, Suki. Every one of us here have been insured. Not one of us has any relatives. We've been screened, picked carefully for just that reason.
But there's 9 of us here. They can't kill 9 guys to get that insurance.
Suki, this looks like a legitimate business. Brockton hires us. We work here. We're insured for small amounts, sure. But 9 men add up to $9,000 in policies. And how do we know how many more places there are like this?
Ah, it's nuts. It don't make sense. It'd be on a murder rap, sure as shooting. The insurance company would
What
get
if
on.
it's an accident?
What kind of an accident would kill 9 guys at once?
That's what we've got to find out. Don't you see? Red got that letter from you. They found out about it. Red must have talked at the mission, and to keep anyone from finding out where you were, Red was killed and your letter taken off of him.
Dirty. What do you want me to do?
We've got to look this place over. Tonight. That night, Suki and I got out of bed before the checker came around. We made a quick tour and found out it was a perfect setup for a fire. Sure, a fire. Locked doors, barred windows. Men trapped in there, it would be just an accident. What could anybody prove? Anybody who set up a gimmick as clever as this one would have all the angles covered and his tracks wiped out.
But what are we going to do? We can't get out. We're watched every minute.
We've got to get out soon. If we don't, we're cooked. And I mean cooked.
Tell the other guys there's 9 of us, only 3 of them.
No, Suki, we've got to pretend we're still patsies for them. Let them think we're not wise. And don't tell anybody, Suki. Suki and I worked out a plan. The bars on the washroom windows.
How's it coming, Dan?
Pretty good. Chipping away at stone with the nails. Slow work.
Just 3 bars. Just get 3 bars loose. That's all we need.
Well, Suki worked while I watched, and I worked while he watched. We finally got 3 bars loose. It was working against time because I was sure the thing would happen any time now. And I was right.
Dan, you awake?
I haven't slept for 3 nights. What's up?
It's after 12 and the checker ain't been around.
Okay, then tonight's the night.
Hey, wait a minute.
Out.
Wait a minute. Smell that?
Smoke. Come on, Suki, get the other men up. This fire trap will burn like tinder in 2 minutes. Hurry.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys. You guys, wake up. Come on, wake up. Listen, there's a fire.
Wait a minute. There's a fire, but we'll all get out of here if you'll keep your heads. Suki, open the door.
It's locked, Dan.
All right, everybody, we've got to break that door in. Then go to the washroom. 3 bars are loose, and then take your time getting out, and we'll all make it. All right, let's go. Out of the washroom. The other door is too heavy for us. Come on. We got out not too soon. The fire was eating that old trap as though it were a shoebox then.
Hey, Dan, look. They're getting away.
Don't let them. Hey, stop those men. Don't let them get to the car. Come on.
They got guns, the dirty rats.
They can't get away. Head them off at the garage. Head them off.
Dan, we got them.
Hold them, Suki. Okay. Now you're going to talk.
About what?
You'll see. Men. Listen, men. This fire was deliberately set to trap us, kill us. I'll tell you why later, but these are the men who did it. What do we do with them?
Oh, wait a minute.
You want to talk?
Yeah, I'll only keep them away from me.
Suki, talk to the rest of the men. But it wasn't over. There was still one thing to be done. Rockland couldn't know things had gone wrong, so I set up a little surprise party for him. Suki and I went to him.
Yes, Yeah. What are you doing here?
Having fun?
Why aren't you at work?
Let me move in on him, Dan. Let me get my...
Hold it, Suki. Rockland, it didn't work.
What's the matter with you?
It didn't work, I said. Everyone got out.
Fine. Got out of what?
The fire. And one of your men talked, Rockland. He talked plenty.
Oh? Well, it doesn't matter because you bums won't live to talk about it. Dan, look out! Okay, Dan?
Yeah, okay. But you can shoot straighter than that, Kling. Lots straighter.
My hand. Yeah, I can shoot straighter. But this is one guy I want to save. See how he likes bars on windows.
Couldn't any of those men have escaped from that awful house?
Sure, Susie, sure. But when he did, he'd end up in an accident like Red.
Oh. What are you thinking about, Mr. Holliday?
Oh, nothing, Susie. I was just saying goodbye to a friend.
Huh? Oh, Suki. He wouldn't stay?
No, he wouldn't. Oh, and that reminds me. Make out a check to the Hope Rescue Mission.
Okay. For how much?
See, 2 weeks, room and board. I think that's what I owe. Oh, and Susie, tack on enough for a melodeon, will you?
Uh-huh. Can I do it after lunch?
Sure. Hey, what are we having?
Soup.
Huh? Oh, good night, Susie.
Next week, same time, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Box 13 is directed by Richard Sandville with an original story by Russell Hughes. Original music is composed and conducted by Rudy Straker. The part of Susie is played by Sylvia Picker, and that of Lieutenant Kling by Edmund McDonough. Production is supervised by Vern Karstensen. This is a Mayfair production from Hollywood. Watch for Alan Ladd in his latest Paramount picture.
Dark fantasy.
I am the skipper of the Sea Phantom.
I say, sir, and what be you doing in the captain's cabin? Do you hear me, sir? What be you doing sitting there writing on the captain's slate? Oh, ignoring me, eh? Now look here, you. This is Captain Strong's own cabin, and no one's got any business of sitting here a-writing. I say, you're not a member of this crew. Going down. Your face. Look at you. Why, you're not human. Captain Strong! Captain! Captain Strong! I say, Captain Strong! Captain Strong, sir!
Yes, Isaac. What is it, man? What's all the rumpus?
Beg Begging your pardon, sir, but there's someone in your cabin, sir.
Well, who is it? What's that, Isaac?
There's someone in the captain's cabin, sir.
Who is it?
I don't rightly know, sir.
Well, didn't you see who it was?
Yes, Mr. Wilson, that I did, sir.
But the captain always locks his cabin. Don't you, Captain Strong?
I do, but I could have forgot.
Well, it wasn't locked just now, Captain.
You say you got a look at the man?
Aye, sir. And full in the face, Captain. If you can rightly call it a face.
What's that? What do you mean, Isaac?
Yes, man. Speak up. What are you trying to tell us?
I mean, sir, the man ain't human. He's nothing but a skeleton.
What?
Nonsense, Isaac.
Oh, no, sir, and that it's not. I seen him, sir. Looked plumb into his face, I did. And there's nothing there but bones. White, bleached bones, sir.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
With empty eye sockets and a gaping mouth, and he was writing on your slate, sir.
Writing on my slate?
Aye, Captain. Writing with a piece of white chalk held between his fingers. Fingers with no flesh on them, sir.
Well, you've been dreaming, Isaac. Come on. Let's get down to my cabin and have a look. Come along, Mr. Wilson.
Right, Captain. Isaac, come on.
Aye, sir.
Oh, it's impossible for anyone to be in my cabin. All hands are either on deck or down in the engine room.
That's what I say, Captain Strong. He ain't one of the crew. He ain't rightly nobody, sir. Unless you want to call his spirit somebody.
Isaac, stop that sort of talk.
No, but it ain't no sort of talk, sir. Begging your pardon, Mr. Wilson. I seen him with my own eyes. Sitting there, dressed in some sort of getup I ain't never laid eyes on before. He had his back to the door, and he was writing on your slate with a chalk, Captain. I spoke to him, but he didn't pay me no mind. Just kept right on with his writing. Then I got closer to him, and he still didn't look up. So I stooped down and peered into his face, I did. And then I seen he wasn't nothing but a skeleton, sir.
Well, if you were a drinking man, Isaac, I'd have you flogged and put in irons.
I'm not so sure he hasn't been at the keg, Captain.
Begging your pardon, sir. You'll see for yourself soon enough. Here's the hatch.
You first, Captain.
Just as I thought. Nobody here.
Ah. Cabin's empty.
But I locked this door, Captain. So whoever it was couldn't get out.
Well, you must have done that all right. I certainly unlocked it just now. You deceive yourself, Isaac. There's no one in here.
No, nobody. And no way out except through that door.
I say, Captain, have a look.
Yes, Mr. Wilson, what is it?
Your slate. There is writing on it.
Huh? What's that? Well, here, let me see.
Here.
There, Captain Strong. You see, sir? That's not your writing, is it?
No, it isn't my writing.
Then one of the men must have been in here and wrote that.
No, I don't think so. Because this writing is a style and a type that was used more than 200 years ago.
What? Now, let's see. I say. That is strange writing. It's English, all right. Such a peculiar spelling and phrasing.
Blimey, I can't read it at all.
Isaac.
Aye, Captain.
Now, seeing this, I can't help but believe that you saw somebody sitting here in my cabin writing on my slate. But I won't be convinced that it was a skeleton.
But I tell you, sir,
It was your imagination, Isaac.
Oh, no, sir, it wasn't no imagination.
I said it was your imagination. You understand?
Aye, sir.
Now, I don't want you to open your mouth about this to the crew. You hear me? There's some explanation. I'm not going to have you stirring up the crew with this. They're all superstitious enough without that.
Aye, sir.
Those are orders, Isaac. I'll have you in irons if you breathe a word of this to the men.
Aye, sir.
That's all, Isaac.
Aye, sir.
Well, Captain Strong?
What do you make of it, Wilson?
Most extraordinary. I'm positive Isaac did see someone in this cabin.
But surely not a fleshless creature.
I don't know. Isaac is a sober, steady sort of person.
But confounded man.
He hasn't much imagination.
Well, who ever heard of a skeleton aboard a ship, much less one that could right on a slate.
Stranger things than that have happened at sea. You know that.
Yeah, I do. But I can't convince myself that what Isaac saw was really some fleshless creature without a brain or heart or eyes.
Can you make out the writing on the slate?
Yeah, I think so. Says, it is not correct, the information you have about the sea phantom. Change your course 6 degrees northeast to location 26 degrees 7 minutes longitude, 18 degrees 9 minutes latitude. Jonathan Strange.
Jonathan Strange?
No, it can't be.
He was the famous captain of the Spanish galleon, the Sea Phantom. The one we're hoping to locate.
Yeah, he was. Jonathan Strange. Dead for 224 years. Lost in a gale in 1718.
Yes. But not in the position this message on the slate directs us to.
No, indeed. The Sea Phantom was supposed to have foundered at 20 degrees longitude. The message says 26 degrees and 7 minutes.
Yes.
Could this be a trick?
A trick, Captain?
Someone else who's heard of the immense treasure that went down with the Sea Phantom. Someone who's trying to steer us off our course. Get to the treasure themselves.
I doubt that.
Why do you say you doubt it, Mr. Wilson?
Well, sir, we've kept the entire expedition completely secret. Not even the crew know what we're up to.
We've tried to keep the entire expedition a secret. I'm positive I haven't mentioned to anyone.
Nor have I, Captain Strong. When I stumbled upon the information about the Sea Phantom, I knew there was an excellent opportunity to recover almost $1 million worth of gold. And naturally, I needed a boat. You were the first one I thought of.
And neither of us would have had a reason for disclosing our knowledge about the treasure.
That's just it. That's why I'm so inclined to believe Isaac was telling us the truth.
About the thing without flesh, right in this message?
Precisely.
That's unbelievable.
Even so, Captain, you must admit that a man who's been dead more than 200 years certainly wouldn't be much more than a skeleton. Isn't that right?
You mean... good heavens. You mean this message was actually written by Jonathan Strange himself?
I mean exactly that.
I wonder.
What about it, Captain? Do we change the course?
I don't know. What's your advice?
Normally, I'm not superstitious. But, well, what can we do? I've never believed in ghosts or spirits up to now. But that message on that slate certainly is convincing.
Then you're in favor of following the instructions. Well, Mr. Wilson?
Yes. Let's change the course and go to the spot the message mentions. If you're willing to take a chance, I certainly am. Who's that? Yes, who's there?
Me, sir. Isaac Newton, sir.
Well, come in and stop that noise. Oh, what in thunder's gotten into you, waking me up in the middle of the night? What time is it anyway?
8 bells, sir. Midnight.
Midnight? A big day ahead tomorrow. Oh, confounded man, what do you want?
Well, I'm standing watch alone tonight, sir. Maybe I should have told this to the captain, but I come to you first.
Well?
I've just sighted a boat to the port side, sir.
Well, have you identified her?
Oh, no, sir. You see, she ain't carrying no light, sir.
No light?
Oh, no, sir. And she's not like any ship I've ever seen, sir.
To the port side, you say?
Aye, sir. She's riding with full sail.
What?
Aye, sir. She looks to me like one of those old-time boats you see in pictures.
Hand me my boots there, Isaac. I'll come up on deck and have a look.
There she blows, sir. You see? Not a sign of life aboard her, sir. And the moon's full tonight.
Look, man, look.
What, Mr. Wilson?
That name on the bow.
I can't see that far, sir. My eyes
That name. The Sea Phantom.
Sea Phantom, sir?
Yes. No wonder she's carrying no lights. No wonder there's no one aboard.
What do you mean, sir?
Isaac, if you've never seen a ghost ship, take a look at that boat out there.
Ghost ship?
Yes. The Sea Phantom went down in these waters more than 200 years ago.
Blow me down, sir. Are you having a joke with me, Mr. Wilson?
No. No, this is no joke. That's a ghost ship, right enough. You watch. She'll be gone in a minute or two.
I'm begging your pardon, sir. But that boat's real.
Ghost ships always look real, Isaac.
But look you, sir. She's close enough to see. She's within throwing distance, I do believe. Here. This belaying pin here, Mr. Wilson. I'll try to throw it aboard the Sea Phantom.
Good. You watch. That pin will just go through thin air.
We'll see, sir. Well, here goes. There, sir. You hear that? She is real.
But that boat's so old, she should have fallen apart years ago. And besides that, she's supposed to be at the bottom of the Atlantic.
She looks old enough, all right, sir. But I don't understand what you mean about her supposed to be...
Isaac.
Aye, sir.
Lower a boat.
A boat, sir?
Yes, confounded a boat. Lower one at once.
Are we going aboard the Sea Phantom, Mr. Wilson?
I am, yes. Now lower a boat to the port side and double quick about it. Stop rowing now, Isaac. Ease up alongside.
Aye, sir.
Tie up to that rope hanging there.
Right, sir. There. All set, sir.
Right. Well, you stay here and watch, Isaac, while I go aboard. If I'm not back in a half hour, come aboard looking for me.
Aye, aye, sir. Half an hour, sir. If you're not back by then, sir, I'll come aboard after you.
Keep a sharp lookout, Isaac. Let me know if you see anybody aboard.
Aye, aye, sir.
Quiet aboard. Can't even hear the wind. No sign of life. No sign of life having been here for score upon score of years. Rotting timbers. Sea-soaked deck. Twisted, tangled ropes. Empty kegs with rusted hoops and warped staves. Strips of time-worn sails and canvas swaying on the masts. Everything so quiet. Quiet as though in reverence for the dead. Here, the hatch. Captain's quarters must be down here. Yes. This must have been his hangout. Let's have a look. A light burning in here. Hey, say, what's that? Oh. Bones. An entire human skeleton slumped here in the corner of the cabin. As though a man had propped himself up there and died.
Exactly, my friend.
Who's that? Did someone speak?
Certainly me.
But where are you?
Over here.
But I don't see you. There's no one in this room but myself.
Yourself and that gentleman slumped there in the corner.
Who are you?
My name is Jonathan Strange.
Jonathan Strange. Why, you're the skipper of the Sea Phantom.
That I am. Jonathan Strange, captain of the Sea Phantom, sailing with a cargo of gold for the Spanish ruler.
But, why, your boat went down in a gale 200 years ago.
So history says, yes. But men do not know everything.
I don't understand.
The Sea Phantom was no victim of a storm at sea. Oh, no, my friend. She was the victim of a cruel and vicious man.
I still don't understand.
Look here. You see the rusted iron ring there on the floor by your feet?
Yes.
Take hold of it and pull. The trap door to my cabin. That's it. It may be difficult. Use your strength on it. A little more force now. Now, that's it. There. You see?
Gold. Bar upon bar of solid gold.
Yes, gold for the King of Spain.
And chests of coins and jewels.
One nail for the Queen. But Jose would have them for his own. He intends to mutiny the crew and steal the treasures that have been entrusted to us.
Who's this Jose?
Jose Menel, a wicked and cold-hearted fiend. Even now, the crew is waiting for me to leave this cabin. They know they'll never enter here while life is in my body.
But surely there's some escape.
No, none. They think I remain here to starve to death. They're fools. They do not know that they're about to perish, like the rats they are.
What do you mean?
Don't you smell the smoke? Listen. You can hear the flames.
Yes. Yes, I do.
They cannot escape in the boats, because I foresaw this mutiny and put the lifeboats out of commission.
But can't you escape?
No, of course not. For you to escape, you must make haste, my friend.
How?
The same way you entered here, of course. Hurry now, my friend, and take this with you.
What is it? What are you giving me?
You'll see. Hurry now. There's no time to waste. Soon the ship will be one mass of roaring flames, and none of us will be left alive.
Can't I take you with me? Can't you make yourself apparent so I can see you and take you along?
No, it doesn't matter. But let me warn you. With my life, I protected the treasures of the King and Queen. Throughout all eternity, I'll guard those treasures. It will not be wise for any man to attempt to obtain them for his own.
Yes, Jonathan Strange. I believe I understand exactly what you mean. That's why you brought me here. To show me.
Exactly. I must hurry.
Mr. Wilson, sir. Are you in there, Mr. Wilson?
Isaac, is that you?
Aye, sir. Blowing down, Mr. Wilson. This beastly bolts of fire. If we don't get over here in a jiffy, we'll be paying a visit to Davy Jones' locker before we do it, sir.
And so, Captain Strong, that's exactly what happened. And I repeat, it was no nightmare. Isaac here can vouch for that.
It's the very truth, Captain Strong. Word for word. So help me heaven.
And that was fair warning. And whoever attempts to get the treasures of the Sea Phantom is doomed.
Aye, sir. Just as those mutineers were doomed 200 years ago, sir.
It's odd. Very odd.
I'm amazed you or the others of the crew weren't awakened by the sound of the fire.
No. None of us heard a sound. The men don't even know about it now. I wouldn't have known about it myself if you two hadn't told me your story. If I hadn't seen those bits of charred wood floating on the surface this morning.
It was a huge treasure, Captain. I saw it in its hiding place, beneath the skipper's cabin.
And you got none of it?
Not a single bit. Oh, wait, I almost forgot. Just before I left the boat, this thing was handed to me.
Handed to you? But I thought you said there was nothing in that cabin but a pile of bones.
Yes, that is right. But this seemed to come, well, almost out of nowhere. and it was placed very firmly in my hands.
He sure enough had it in his hands when I broke into the cabin, sir.
Let's have a look. Why, this was the ship's log.
The log?
Yes. The complete log of the Sea Phantom's voyage. From the date of sailing, right on up through the mutiny. Look. This writing. It's the same hand. The writing on my slate and the writing on this paper are the very same. Curve for curve, angle for angle.
Here, let me see. Oh, I say, Captain.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Look here. On this last page. It reads, "Now that it has become my solemn duty to protect the treasures which have been entrusted to me, I will send the Sea Phantom to her ocean grave together with the treasure. This is my course as I see it. God assist me. Jonathan Strange, May 29th, 1718.
You have heard The Sea Phantom. Tonight's tale of dark fantasy by Scott Bishop. Ben Morris was heard tonight as Mr. Wilson. Fred Wayne played Captain Strong. Muir Height was Isaac, and Garland Moss was Captain Jonathan Strange, skipper of the Sea Phantom. Next Friday at this time, we'll bring you another dark fantasy drama. Being the 13th story in this series, and next Friday being Friday the 13th, Scott Bishop defies superstition utterly and completely to bring you one of his most exciting and unusual tales. Listen for W is for werewolf. A weird adventure laid upon a sunny tropical island where all seems peaceful and serene, but where a grim and vicious destiny festers slowly into breathtaking, unbelievable reality. Dark Fantasy originates each Friday night in the WKY studios, Oklahoma City. Tom Paxton speaking. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Winstead, will your wife be down shortly? Yes. Laura promised a special seance from Miss Keaton here at 2.
Yes, and I can hardly wait. I've always been so curious about things like this, but I've never attended a seance before.
Well, I assure you, Miss Keaton, you'll find it most fascinating. I've been watching Laura practice for almost 5 years. She makes more progress with every sitting. It's absolutely astounding what she can do. Isn't it, Winstead? Yes, quite. Oh, yes. She really didn't know she had the power, until about 1937. Remember, Winstead, the penthouse party? Who gave the beastly thing? Do you remember? Yes, I remember very well. It was Quentin and Ramsey.
Oh, yes, that's who it was. Ramsey had a mystic oracle board, you know, Ouija. No one could get the thing to work until they coaxed Laura to sit down and have a try.
And she made the board work?
Oh, indeed she did. All over the place. It was absolutely weird. She got messages from several of the guests' friends who had passed on some time ago. People she'd never heard of until that night.
How wonderful.
She used the board for about a year and then found out she could get pencil messages.
Pencil messages?
Yes, she simply substituted the pencil for the little heart-shaped board with the isinglass window. Her messages came in more rapidly that way, more complete, and this method was less tiring for her.
You mean she actually contacts departed spirits that way?
I mean, she did. But she gave up the writing method 2 years ago, didn't she, Winstead?
Yes, thank heaven. Every place I'd go, I'd find a paper simply covered with strange scratching, harebrained, so-called messages.
But look here, old fellow. Do I detect a shade of sarcasm in your voice?
I dare say you do. I'm not aboard with the whole thing.
But why, Winstead?
Simply because it's all a lot of...
Well, go on.
Oh, never mind. Oh, I wish you'd come on downstairs and get this thing over with. Frederica, I urge you not to waste your time with this foolishness.
Foolishness? Now, look here, Winstead. You can't talk about your wife's work like that.
No, darling, really. I'm absolutely fascinated by it all. I can't wait for Mrs. Winstead to come down.
Oh, she'll be down in a moment. I say, Winstead, really, I can't understand your attitude about Laura's work. Why, you used to enjoy watching her work immensely.
Yes. I used to love her immensely.
What? I say, does that mean that you...
Mr. Rogers, you said a moment ago that Mrs. Winstead doesn't communicate by means of pencil writing any longer.
Why, no, she doesn't. After about a year of it, she undertook a profound and comprehensive study of spiritualism and communication with those who have left this level. In her study, she learned that those departed ones can sometimes make contact with us through the use of a medium's voice. She began very slowly at first, lying relaxed on a couch, eyes closed, and eventually her contact began to use Laura's own voice for their messages.
And that's what she'll do for us tonight?
That and more.
More?
Oh, yes. You see, Miss Keaton, after Laura Winstead perfected her means of vocal communication with spirits, she continued her studies and experiments until she became able to bring about materialization.
You mean...
I mean, now we see the departed one with whom we commune.
Oh. Well, I really didn't expect that. I thought possibly a few table wrappings.
Oh, there'll be more than mere wrappings here tonight, Miss Keaton. Oh, here's Laura now. Laura, dear.
Good evening. Or should I say good morning? It's after 2 a.m.
Yes, Laura. We've been waiting for you. Really, I think you could be more prompt.
Do you, Harvey? Or perhaps you should hold the seances instead of me.
Now, Laura, there's really no reason for you to make a scene.
Oh, no, of course not. We're not here for a scene. It's for a seance. Yes. Shall we begin, Laura?
Yes. Harvey, if this is going to bore you, I suggest you go into the library until we've finished.
No. I'll remain here.
Then I must ask you to assume the right attitude. You know we always have difficulty getting good contact whenever a disbeliever is present. Oh, I'm sure Mr. Winstead believes, don't you, Harvey?
I'd rather ask that same question of you, Frederica. We're finished here.
Oh, don't worry about me, Mrs. Winstead. I'm quite open-minded. I'm sure you are, dear. Now, if we'll all gather around the table. Rogers, will you turn off the lights, please?
Oh, yes, certainly. There we are. Now we'll all...
What's that? What's wrong? What's happened?
Never mind, Laura.
Frederica, are you all right?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course she is. I merely missed my chair and bumped into hers. So sorry, Miss Keaton.
Oh, I'm sorry, too. Please forgive me, but I was startled for a moment.
There now. We're all settled. It was entirely my fault, Miss Keaton. I'm terribly sorry.
It's quite all right, Mr. Rogers. Is everyone quite ready?
Yes, Laura. All ready.
Shall we begin any time now?
Harvey, we will begin when the opportune time arrives. Let me tell you once again that if you are impatient, it will be best that you will leave us.
Oh, no. No, Harvey, please don't go.
Don't worry. I have no intention of leaving.
You please all join hands. Roger, give me your hand. Miss Keaton, yours, please. Now you two clasp hands with Mr. Winstead.
Yes, I understand. Harvey, where's your hand? Oh, there it is.
All set, Laura.
Now, whatever happens, no one is to break the contact. Is that perfectly clear? No one. We will soon make communication with one from another level.
Where will we see this?
I must ask you to be very quiet, Miss Keaton. No one is to speak. And when the materialization takes place, please do not utter a sound unless it addresses you personally. We're gathered here to commune with whomsoever wishes to contact us. We've gathered with open minds and with a unity of purpose. If there is someone who wishes to speak to us, or any one of us, will he or she please make herself known? Is someone seeking contact? Please knock twice for no, thrice for yes. Do you have a message for someone present? For me? No. For someone else who is present here? Do you wish to speak through me? Do you wish to show yourself to us? Very well. We will await your appearance now. When you are ready to speak through me, please begin. Roger?
Yes, of course.
feeling all right, Laura?
Yes, quite all right, thank you.
Miss Keaton?
Yes, I suppose so. I don't know what to make of this. It's all so wonderful.
I'd take it with a grain of salt, my dear. And try not to think too much about it.
Harvey, I'll not have you say such things. Miss Keaton, you've just seen and talked with your mother. You may do so again whenever you wish. In case there's the slightest doubt in your mind, I can assure you that it was your mother.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sure it was, Mrs. Winstead. And as I say, it's so wonderful. Tell me, why haven't I heard of your ability to do this before now?
Because, Miss Keaton, I permit no one to speak of it. I do not wish to become a public figure. I give sittings for my friends. I don't wish the world at large to know about my power, so I swear every newcomer to complete and absolute secrecy. I'm asking you for your assurance now.
You mean you don't want me to speak of this to anyone?
Yes, that's what I mean. You must promise to speak to no one of what you have seen here tonight.
Very well, Mrs. Winstead. As you wish.
I shall expect you to keep that promise. Now, the seance is ended. I shall bid you all good night.
Laura, dear, won't you stay and talk for a while?
Thank you, no. I'm very tired, and it's almost 3 o'clock.
I'll see you to the stairs then, and then I must be going. Winston, old chap, I'll see you at the office tomorrow. Very well. Thank you, Rogers. Good night, Miss Keaton.
Good night, Mr. Rogers. Mrs. Winstead.
Good night, my dear. Please come back again when you can.
Oh, thank you, I will.
Good night, Laura. I'll run Frederica home. I'll be along shortly.
Yes, Harvey. Take your time, my dear. Now, whatever made me say that? I'm sure you will, anyway. Good night.
Harvey, she's suspicious.
That I'm in love with you?
How could she have found out?
I told her.
You did?
Yes. Made a clean breast of it to her. Told her it was no good, she and I trying to continue to make a go of it. She refuses to give me a divorce.
Oh.
I'm really desperate, Frederica. I can't stand living with her another day. She's changed so. There's no love in her heart anymore. No warmth. She suddenly becomes such a different person. Nagging, sharp-tongued, overbearing.
Oh, poor dear. You do need someone to look after you. She must neglect you terribly.
She does. I minded a lot at first. Believe me, Frederica, I was always in love with Laura. Now she's so indifferent. Everything I try to do for her.
But why has she become so indifferent to you?
I've stopped trying to explain that months ago. I don't care anymore. Now that I found you.
Harvey.
You do love me, don't you, Frederica?
Oh, yes, dear. Of course I do. But we can't go on like this. There's no solution in view.
But there must be a solution. There must be some way.
But there is no way. No way except the one Laura denies us.
Just give me a little time, Frederica. It isn't hopeless yet. I promise you, Frederica, I'll find a way. I'll find a way somehow.
My darling. Harvey, I'm still thinking about what Laura did here tonight. The apparition. The voice of my mother.
Oh, nonsense, Frederica.
Darling, what do you mean?
Here, I'll show you what I mean. Here, I want you to see this, Frederica. Here you are. See?
Well, that's almost an exact image of my mother.
Nothing but a papier-mâché face, painted to resemble an old lady, an old gray shawl, and some old-style spectacles.
How does it work? How did she make it appear?
Easily. Look, up above there. An almost invisible wire strung across the room. Laura simply releases an electrically controlled lock on this cabinet behind her chair. Since the invisible wire is placed at a single angle, the so-called spirit slips slowly out in front of those sitting at the table. Here. Like this. There. Then Lawler says whatever she wants to. Changing her voice. When it's all over, she simply manipulates this cord on a pulley inside the cabinet. The images return to the cabinet. Simple.
Oh. Well, then she merely tricked us.
Tricked you. I've known for years that Laura's nothing but a fraud.
You might have kept what you know to yourself, Harvey.
Oh, Mrs. Winstead.
Laura, I asked her not to come here. She insisted that since you extended the invitation, she was obliged to. I felt it only fair to show her that she'd been the victim of a hoax.
Oh, Harvey, never mind, Miss Keaton. I'm not in the least embarrassed. The apparition was a trick, yes. But I assure you, my dear, the voice was not.
Oh, of course it was, Laura. You know it.
Indeed. Harvey, my dear, there are many things between earth and heaven that none of us know. There are many things that you don't know. Yes, I have used tricks at our meetings, I admit that. But not everything that has happened here has been trickery.
You'll have to convince me, Laura.
Harvey, I have a feeling that someday, somehow I will convince you. And that when I do, you'll never be able to scoff at me again. I can't see that there's anything to settle.
You haven't the right to hold me like this, Laura. You don't love me. Why don't you give me my freedom?
Simple, Harvey. Because no woman likes to see another take her place. And besides, it's so convenient being married to your income.
You're the most selfish, the most self-centered woman I've ever met.
Am I, darling?
You certainly are. Laura, all I ask is a divorce. I'll see to it that you're well cared for financially.
No, Harvey. You're wasting your breath. I told you no yesterday. I say no again today. And I'll keep on saying no as long as I live.
As long as you live. Yes. Just so, my dear. Just so.
Oh, Frederica, darling. Yes? Oh, Laura. How are you? Excellent, Frederica. I'm driving out to Cliff Point. Won't you ride along with me? We'll be back by noon.
Oh, why, thank you so much. I would like the fresh air.
Then come along, Frederica. I need some company, and besides, I want to have a little talk with you.
Frederica! Laura! Laura, stop! Stop the car, for heaven's sake!
Here's your evening paper. Harvey Winstead's wife dead and plunged over Cliff Point. 2 women forced off highway by unidentified truck driver. Mrs. Harvey Winstead killed instantly. Miss Frederica Keaton expected to die. There you are, folks.
How is she, Doctor? How is Miss Keaton?
She's slightly improved, Mr. Winston.
Thank heaven.
But she's still in a very serious condition. She regained consciousness early this morning after a 10 days coma. She seems to recognize people, but something is wrong with Miss Keaton's nerve centers. For one thing, she can't use her voice.
An operation, perhaps?
Yes, a very serious one. It'll require, quite an expense.
Oh, hang the expense. Get the best surgeon you know of. I'll pay all the bills, everything. Only Frederica Keaton must recover.
I say, Winstead, do you really think that this girl will ever recover?
I don't know. It's been months since the accident. She hasn't been able to speak one word to me.
Now, look here, it's none of my affair, really, but I know things have been going very badly for you lately. Losing your wife and all. You need some money, old man.
Oh, no. No, thanks. Thanks a lot, Rogers. My money's not completely gone. Yet.
Good news. Good news, Winston.
Yes, Doctor?
The operation was a success. Believe me, I never dreamed it would require 3 operations to make Miss Keaton able to speak again.
She can talk?
Yes. After almost 6 months of silence.
Oh, that's splendid. When can I see her, Doctor?
Why, now, if you wish. Here, this way. Just a few minutes now. She's very weak.
Yes. Hello, Frederica.
Harvey, darling.
Oh, my darling, at last.
Isn't it wonderful, dear?
Oh, my dearest one. To hear your voice again.
I thought I'd never speak to you again.
You must forget all that, darling. Get well soon, please. Because just as soon as you're strong enough, we'll be married, dearest. Just as I've always told you we'd be. Oh, no. Wait a minute, Frederica. I want to carry my bride over the threshold. Up you come now. There we are. Now. There you are, Mrs. Winston, in your new home at last. Now, how about a kiss from Mr. Winstead's new bride?
Harvey, you're always the fool, aren't you?
Frederica, darling.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. You're so annoying, Harvey.
Frederica, whatever's come over you?
You thought your problem was solved, didn't you? You thought sending me over the embankment to my death was the solution.
I don't understand.
Look at me. Whom do you see? Frederica Keaton, yes, of course you do. But whose voice do you hear?
Laura.
You've been so stupid, Harvey, you hadn't even noticed.
It can't be.
Are you a believer now?
Laura, my wife. Delicate Case of Murder. The 14th original tale of dark fantasy by Scott Bishop. Georgiana Cook was heard tonight as Laura Winstead.
Ben Morris was Harvey Winstead. Eleanor Naylor Corrin played Frederica Keaton. Muir Height was Rogers. And Fred Wayne was the Doctor. Next Friday night at this same time, listen to the 15th unusual tale in this series of dark fantasy, Spawn of the Subhuman, in which the nation's favorite soprano star makes an aeroplane flight to an incredible destiny that awaits her at the hands of a strange and mysterious madman. Tom Paxton speaking. Dark Fantasy comes to you from WKY, Oklahoma City. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Ironized Yeast presents Lights Out. Everybody.
It is later than you think.
This is Arch Obler. Tonight, the makers of Ironized Yeast bring you a story not of imaginary terrors. No, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's play will thrill and chill you beyond any power of the supernatural, because this story is based on cruel, grim reality. So tonight we urge you not to avoid this excitement and tension. Rather, we urge you to turn your radios up and listen as you've never did before.
Herr Himmler.
Heil Hitler. Well, mein Führer, I have the report. Now, look here, Herr Hitler, it's no use getting so red in the face. That won't help anything. What's happened, happened, and as long as we know why it happened, I'll see to it won't happen again. So nothing is lost and something is gained. Now, here, I have the report here. It arrived by courier only 5 minutes ago. I rushed it right up. Didn't even stop to read it myself. So, I will read. Official report on the Renoir incident as made by Captain Hans Mauchlich to Major Heinrich von Trobberitz, commanding officer 3rd Division Army of Occupation at Headquarters Paris. Heil Hitler. I, Hans Mauchlich, Captain, member of Elite Guard assigned to 3rd Division Army Occupation, being in my right mind and in full realization of the consequences to me, make the following statement. On the day of April 7th at 2 o'clock in the morning, Sergeant Karl Fischl, while on patrol duty in the town of Renoir, was shot at by unidentified woman and slightly wounded in the left thigh. In accordance with orders
radioed from Paris headquarters, I at once placed the entire population of Renoir under arrest, and in accordance with further orders received, collected 50 female hostages to be hanged in the village square unless the criminal who had shot Sergeant Fischl was turned over to me at once. These French women were placed in the basement of the town hall, and precisely at sundown, having assembled the populace in the public square, I mounted the scaffold platform which had been erected there and spoke to this village of criminals. Attention! Attention! I warn you, no disturbances, or I will give the order to fire. Now, for the last time, who among you is guilty of this crime? Speak! So, very well. The next time, every man and woman in this town will be deported for hard labor in the Reich. This time, we will proceed with the executions. Silence! Sergeant, the first prisoner. At this point in my report, may I explain that the 50 women to be executed had been picked at random by squads sent through the town a few hours before. I personally knew none of them, but I personally counted them as they entered the place of imprisonment, and I personally posted the guard. That I know. The first prisoner, bind her hands up to the platform. Noose around her neck. So, tighten the rope. Place her on the trap door. So, the prisoner will lift her head. Lift your head. Look at me. At this point in the report, may I describe the prisoner? Sex, female. Age, indeterminate. Clothes, indeterminate. She lifted her face as ordered. Then a strange thing happened. She smiled. Yes, smiled. You smile? Why do you smile? Very well, the trap door. Hang her.
Herr Captain.
Well?
Her neck is broken.
Do not cut her down yet. People of the town of Renoir, the first of your women hangs here. The first evidence that to harm a soldier of the Holy Reich means death. Certain death. Remove the body. Bring out the next prisoner. At this point in my report, may I explain my plan? To hang was not enough. No. These Frenchmen and their women and their children must learn their lesson in a way they would never forget. One by one, the women would be brought out. One by one, they would stand on the platform. One by one, the rope around the neck, the trap door, the body twisting and turning in death. Coming through that door, climbing then to the scaffold, and dying. 50 of them, and it would take hours. And these Frenchmen and these French women and their children would never forget this lesson. Bring her here over the trap door. Rope around her neck. No, do not bind this one. It is better that they out there see her dance at the end of the rope. The other died too quickly. Ready?
Yes, Captain.
The prisoner will lift her face. Lift your face. Your face. You are related to the one who just died. Answer me. Very well. People of Renoir, you see before you the second of you who is to die for the crime against the Reich. This one, I can see, is related to the first. A sister, perhaps. It will not save her. The crime must be avenged. You laugh? Hang her.
Herr Captain, her neck is broken.
Broken? So small a woman? Why should... Sergeant, they drop too far. Shorten the rope. Let them struggle before they die. The next prisoner. At this point in my report, may I state that all day it had been threatening rain. In spite of that fact, I had not felt it good psychology to postpone the executions. At this point, the time was 4:30, and the sky was getting quite dark, but I was determined to complete the executions. By the time the next woman stood on the scaffold, it was very dark. People of Renoir, the third criminal to die for the crime against the Reich. The crime must be avenged. You laugh too? Why? You're going to die? Why do you laugh?
You will know.
Hang her. At this point in my report, I will state that this woman did not die easily. I could tell that from the faces of the people and the animal cries that came to their lips as they watched this woman of theirs flinging about at the end of the rope. I was quite pleased. Silence, silence! Well, people of Renoir, she thought she would not die. You see, she is dead. There is no escape from the vengeance of the Reich. Bring up the next one. Stop that drum. Yes, people of Renoir, there is no escape from the power of the Third Reich. Today over all Europe, tomorrow over all the world. What power is there to stop us? All right, bring the prisoner up here, quickly. At this point in my report, may I say it was darker than before. The clouds. There was a feeling of an electrical storm in the air. Hurry her up there, hurry her up. Sergeant, turn on the floodlights. Let no one move. Shoot down anyone who tries to leave the square. Do not think the storm will make any difference. Here you are, and here all of you will stay until the last one of your criminals is hanged. All right, soldier, do not stand there. The noose, put it around her neck. No. Soldier, are you out of your mind? Why do you stand there? What is it?
Look at her. Look at her.
At this point in my report, I wish to state that I am not sure if I am in my right mind completely now. But at the time I am speaking of, I knew exactly what I was hearing and seeing.
Captain, look at her. I tell you, look at her.
You? Sergeant.
Yes, Captain.
The bodies, are they down there?
Yes, Captain.
How many? Answer me, how many?
3.
3?
3.
So, you, woman, you think you'll make jokes with me? You are of the same family. Yes, that is it.
You're the same. Hey,
At this point in my report, I will state only that I immediately ordered the next prisoner up to the scaffold. The 5th prisoner.
Captain, this one, the same?
You crazy fool, how can that be? Here, the searchlight, here. No. You are not... How can that be? Sergeant, how many now? The truth, tell me the truth.
4, Captain.
The truth, I order you.
4 bodies, I swear it, Captain.
And their faces. Look at their faces. Answer me, their faces.
All the same, Captain. The same.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment now to look around to reassure ourselves that we are where we are in the free America of today, where thousands of people are able to say,
Man, oh man, am I going good. Making more money than I ever did. Sure, taxes are tough, and I'm putting my 10% in war bonds. But even so, I've got plenty left to spend for fun.
To spend for fun? You think our fighting men in Africa are having fun? Was it fun for our boys at Guadalcanal fighting off the Japs from foxholes? Being shot down in flames over Berlin, is that fun?
Why, no, but like I said, I'm putting my 10% in war bonds.
This is no 10% war, my friend. Our servicemen are fighting at 100%. And that's exactly why the news from Africa is good. Why we won at Guadalcanal. Why we're moving toward the offensive on other fronts. Do you want more American victories? Do you want our men to march into Berlin at the earliest possible moment?
Why, yes, of course.
Then back them up as they are fighting for us. 100%. Put that money you've got for fun into more war bonds. War is expensive, and if we hold back here on the home front, we'll needlessly prolong the war, thus throwing away thousands of American lives. Are dollars for fun more precious than the lives of American fighting men, of your fighting man? You know they're not. And remember, friends, the quicker the victory, the fewer lives lost. And if we want victory sooner, every American of us must do more. So go to your nearest bank or post office, wherever war bonds are sold in your town, and put every cent you don't really need into bonds. Do it for your own sake, and for the sake of our fighting men. They give their lives. We must lend our money.
At this point in my report, I say only that it began to rain. A terrible rain. And we stood there in the rain. The people all round the scaffold, my soldiers, and on the platform the hangman and I, and the woman. All the same.
You hang for vengeance, don't you, Nazi? One German soldier shot at by a French woman who had the blessed right to kill him. And you think you will have the vengeance with 50?
Laugh. It's always the same.
Shall I tell you about vengeance, Captain? You Germans think you know all about it. But let me tell you of the real vengeance.
At this point in my report, I will tell you of my thoughts. These women, the same, was not possible. I left the scaffold and went below to where the bodies lay. With my flashlight, I looked. Broken necks. The faces quite the same. I shut off the light. I climbed back to the scaffold. I was not disturbed, because now I understood. The families of these French were large, and all these were sisters. 5 sisters. Yes, trying to frighten me. Well, that was ended with their broken necks. I ordered out the next woman for her execution. People of Renoir, there will be no further demonstrations of any sort. You will stand there in the rain until all your women criminals are dead. 5 sisters have died. And I am certain that is the end of that family. And who is this frightened one with her hands in front of her face? All right, keep them there. Corporal, get the new noose around her neck. Hang her quickly. What? Her face. Another one. Oh, you French, such families. Worthy of we Germans. But we have men, and you give birth to useless women. 6 women, and all of them born to be hanged.
Shall I tell you about vengeance, Nazi?
What?
You Germans think you know all about it. But let me tell you of the real vengeance.
Captain, the other one said those words.
Shut your mouth. You, woman, how do you know the words your sister said?
I said them.
How could you?
You think you know about vengeance, you Germans. Well, you don't. Vengeance, too, has to be based on truth. And what is your vengeance? You began a war once and lost it. To whom did you lose it? To these little people? To that little rabbi whose back you broke in a concentration camp? To that little child who suffocated under her mother's body in Poland?
Hang her! At this point in my report, I state only that I made sure this one hanged until she was dead. And then I waited a little while before I ordered the next one out. The rain was very heavy. All the people stood there in the square below the scaffold, heads bowed to the rain. And in the light of the searchlights, they and the soldiers guarding them were like living dead, standing there unburied.
Captain, this one, she's the same.
What? Liar, bring her up here.
No, you hanged her and she's not dead. Not dead. Who is he? Run for your lives. Run.
Bring her up here. She is not the same. She can't be the same one. Turn the searchlights on.
The same one? Run!
Stand where you are. Men open fire. Shoot them down. Sergeant Corporal, where are you running? Stand, soldiers. Do not run. I order. The lights. Why did you turn out the searchlights? Turn them on. I order you to turn them on. My soldiers. Gone.
Are you frightened, Captain? Put the rope around my neck.
You are not the same. I saw you hang.
Put the noose around my neck.
The bodies. I can see them down there.
Hang me. You want your vengeance. 50 times the rope must stretch. 50 bodies piled like cordwood. And you call that vengeance? Shall I tell you of vengeance, Nazi? The vengeance of the people of the murdered republics. What was their crime? They wanted freedom from poverty. And your battleships stood off their shores and your airplanes filled their skies and gave them blood to drink. Their own. The vengeance of the people of Poland. What was their crime? They wanted to live, just to live. So the treads of your tanks ground them into the dirt, and then your bombs lifted them out of the dirt. The vengeance of the people of Belgium, whose crime was that they were weary of a battle they did not quite understand because you had given them confusion. And so you stripped them of human dignity and made them slaves to live on bloody knees before the masters of your Reich. The vengeance of Holland. Oh, that will be a horrible vengeance, Nazi. For their crime was the crime of being men, of standing up and saying, this is our land and this is our freedom. Dare take them from us. So you swept over them. And when they could no longer fight, you took your vengeance by the murder of 40,000 of them. And the vengeance of Great Britain. Oh, that will be a terrible vengeance, Nazi. It will be a vengeance that will...
Oh, I will hang you. Rope around your neck. Now talk. At this point in my report, I swear by the grave of my mother I tell the truth. I hanged this woman with my own hands. I made sure that she was dead. And then I reached down and cut the rope, and I heard the body fall below in the dark. But when I got up off my knees and stood up on the scaffold again, another woman was there, and it was she.
The vengeance of Norway. Theirs, too, was the crime of free men content to live on their own land. And you put a swastika over their crosses and murdered their sons and starved their children. And the vengeance of the Balkans. So many vengeances, Nazi. Did you ever think of them? You with your little vengeances against the helpless, the women, the children. Did you ever think of this moving mountain of great vengeance that is sweeping toward you? The vengeance of the Russians, whose crime was that they wanted their own freedom, their own way, and who saw the hard work of 20 years ground under your Panzers and your Stukas. Oh, Nazi, theirs will be a terrible vengeance. Theirs will be...
And then there was another one. Another, but the same.
And the vengeance of the Americans. Their crime, that they were strong and they didn't like you and they laughed at you. And then their laughter turned to anger, and you were afraid of their anger, so you lifted another one's hand and gave them the treachery of a knife thrust in the back. And you drowned their men in the seas, and you...
I can report only what I saw. The trapdoor fell. She, too, was gone. The rope twisting and turning, and I was alone on the scaffold. Alone. I was alone. Yes, the rope twisting and turning, and I was alone. And then, who shall I swear this on? What do I believe in to swear this on? I heard footsteps coming up the steps to the scaffold, and I ran to the edge, and I looked. The lightning flashes were quick, one after the other, and by them I saw that I had hanged 8, and there were 42 left. And now they were coming up the stairs, these 42, one after the other, in a line that reached back across the square, coming to me. Who are you? What do you want? I report this. They came on the platform, one after the other. The scaffold moved under the weight of them. And then the lightning came again. And I saw all of them. She.
Poland, Belgium, Holland, Norway, Greece, Yugoslavia, Russia, Britain, America. I tell you, Nazi, no matter what the clever ones try to do at the peace tables, the people will not forget their vengeance. They will not forget their dead children and their dead wives and their dead sons and their dead mothers and their dead sisters and their dead lovers and their dead hopes and their dead wasted years. They will not stop at the borders of your Germany this time. They will march into it, into your Germany, the people. And their vengeance will be on every one of you who traded the cross for the swastika, and the great God of humanity for the little man who thought he was God.
Who are you? I report only this one last thing. As I asked the words, "Who are you?" suddenly it was no longer all these women speaking with one mouth, but in the rain and the lightning, I saw them moving together, and all of them began to become one woman, a terrible thing that grew and grew into the air. I lifted my face to see. The lightning crashed about the top of her, and it was still that woman, towering higher and higher into the air. And when she spoke, her voice was the thunder.
Listen to me, Nazi. When their vengeance comes, you shall not hide behind your little man. For his crimes are his crimes, and your crimes are yours. And each must pay for his crimes.
Who are you?
For the good people of this world will not die this time in vain. This time the vengeance will be their vengeance, and the everlasting peace their peace.
Who are you? I report, I asked that, and suddenly I was lifted in the air. There was thunder and lightning around me, too. And up where I was, her voice was a whisper.
I am a French woman who stayed away from my own land too long. So long that some of my countrymen had forgotten that even the memory of me lives only where men fight for me.
Who are you?
I closed my report. This French woman told me her name, and she told me a place. Through the thunder crash I heard her. And then the lightning struck, and I was falling through the air. And when I awoke, it was morning, and she was not there. And the scaffold was burned to the ground, and there were no bodies, and the village square was empty. This is the end of my report.
Can you imagine such a report, mein Führer? A woman who grows into the sky. Of course, the man will be shot. Wait a minute. There seems to be an addition to the report. It says, note, the French woman said she could be found at latitude 41 degrees north and at longitude 74 degrees west. Investigation indicates this is a place in the Western Hemisphere known as Bedloe's Island. Further investigation indicates that there is only one French woman on this island. She is called the Statue of Liberty?
I see what you mean, Mr. Obler. The Nazis can kill people, but they can never kill the spirit of victory.
Yes, we've seen that proved over and over again in this war. We know how men, women, and children in France and Holland and Norway and every other country that's come under the Nazi heel are fighting back in every way possible. But we know equally well that the will to win is not enough. You can't fight the Japs or the Nazis with courage alone. The only way to fight these murderers effectively is in the language of bombs and bullets. Now, we on the home front who sleep in our comfortable beds and eat good meals in spite of shortages, we're being asked only to send our money to back up those who are fighting for our freedom. Now, if a Nazi isn't outside your door waiting to take you off to a concentration camp because you pray to your God on Sunday, or if a Jap isn't waiting with an executioner's sword, stained with the blood of an American aviator to cut off your head, it's only because all over the world, men and women of courage are fighting your battle. So the next time you take out $1 and think, oh, what can I buy now? Think again. Is there anything I want more than I want a world of peace and justice and security of loved ones back home again? And then do what your heart and mind tell you must do. Put every dollar and dime you don't need for actual necessities into this fight by putting them into war bonds and stamps. This may be our last chance to buy the right to live as free men.
Thank you, Mr. Obler. Friends, the makers of ironized yeast have been very happy to dedicate tonight's program to our government's second war loan drive. And now, Mr. Obler, can you tell us a little about next week's story?
Well, before I do that, I'd like to personally thank the ironized yeast folks for giving me the opportunity of presenting this play to you tonight. A word of thanks, too, to Edgar Barrier and Mercedes McCambridge, and to Hans Conried and Lou Merrill. As to next week, well, if you've ever wished on a star, listen in. For the play has the provocative title of The Heavenly Jeep. To you lovers of the off the beat, a cordial invitation to be with us when the Heavenly Jeep takes off.
Yes, tune in next Tuesday again for Arch Obler's eerie story, The Heavenly Jeep. And if you need more vitamin B1 and iron, be sure to try ironized yeast. But remember, there's only one ironized yeast. You'll know it instantly by the yellow and orange package and by the big letters IY on the container and on each tablet.
It is later than you think.
Down south, it's white shoe season, and even up north, you're beginning to see white shoes around town. And because of shoe rationing, lots of folks are giving their white shoes the best of care with Energine Shoe White. Energine Shoe White is made with the whitest pigment obtainable. It spreads over shoes easily and dries evenly with a real white, never a dingy off-white. So, to keep white shoes looking better longer, buy Energine Shoe White. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Ironized Yeast presents Lights Out. Everybody. It is later than you think. Lights Out brings you stories of the supernatural and the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasies and the mysteries of the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginative plays, we urge you calmly but sincerely to turn off your radio now.
This is Arch Obler. Tonight a strange story about ordinary people. Two girls just like you or your daughter or the girl who works next to you in the office. But first, Frank Martin.
Worried because you're underweight and frazzled out? Miserable because you lack the pep and strength and energy you need these busy days? Well, cheer up. Very possibly you simply need more vitamin B1 and iron than you're getting from your food. And pleasant little ironized yeast tablets supply both of these vital substances. They've been of amazing benefit to thousands with these deficiencies. Gains of glorious new pep and strength and needed pounds within just a few short weeks are nothing unusual. That's right, ironized yeast tablets. And now, lights out. Everybody.
Alice, do you think we're still in the United States? I'm beginning to doubt it. Are you sure you got the right address? Of course. Well, don't be so dogmatic. You have made mistakes. Sounds as if you're starting to get annoyed. Well, I am. We've been driving so long, my back feels as if somebody were doing a big apple on it. Oh, we'll be there soon enough. You know, Alice, sometimes that calm nature of yours makes me good and tired. You sound as if you want to quarrel. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that... Well, I looked forward to this vacation for weeks, and now that it's happening, well, it isn't so much fun. Oh, wait till you get to my Aunt Harriet's. You can curl up in the alfalfa and sleep for days. Sleep. Oh, that's a lovely word. Just imagine, sleeping as long as you want without having to worry about making an 8 o'clock class.